The following is the agenda for the regular Borough Council meeting of the Borough of Pompton Lakes Mayor and Council Municipal Corporation in the County of Passaic. The meeting will begin at 7:30 p.m. on April 24th, 2024, in the Municipal Building, 25 Lennox Avenue, Pompton Lakes. Consistent with the Open Public Meetings Act, the meeting will be open for public comments and shall be in accordance with the terms and conditions of the borough's municipal code and bylaws.
Please stand for a flag salute.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bless this mayor and council as they deliberate on the best of Pompton Lakes. In conformance with the Open Public Meeting Law, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, adequate notice of this meeting setting forth the time, date, place, and purpose of this regular meeting through notice posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, mailed to all have requested and paid for same, and published in the Suburban Trends. Roll call, please.
Mayor Sarah.
Here.
Council President Dewan.
Here.
Councilman Cruz.
Here.
Councilwoman Kent.
Here.
Councilwoman Hilder.
Here.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Here.
Councilman Bennett.
Here.
With us, the Borough Attorney James Parisi and our Borough Administrator Michael Corelli.
Okay, thank you. Before we start, it's my honor to read some proclamations. One of them is going to be for our Superintendent of Municipal Utilities Authority, John Wegley. But, you know, one of the funny stories I have about John, I was mayor new, and he called me in the middle of the night and said, we have a small hole on the side of the mountain. You need to come just take a look. And there's this massive hole. I mean, it had to be 30 feet deep, and there was water running all over the place. And I go, what's going on? He goes, oh, it's a big deal. We're going to be in here working. They brought their machines with John's guidance right to the edge of that cliff, and we're digging this thing all night to get that water back on. And I remember that to this day. You guys were out there all day and night, so I thank you, and all the residents thank you for that before I get to the proclamation. So let me read it here, and then we'll come up front. John Wegley, Superintendent of the Borough of Pompton Lakes Municipal Utilities Authority, will officially retire on April 30th with over 30 years of service. John graduated from high school, enlisted and served in the United States Marine Corps as an electrician prior to the employment at the MUA in 1985. John began his career with the MUA, a separate entity from the borough responsible for the borough's water quality and supply, sewer collection, and treatment of water, as the senior maintenance mechanic. Became the operational manager in 1994 and superintendent in 2010. John attended Votech and Morris County Schools and attended New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection licensing in S3 wastewater treatment, C3 wastewater collection, W3 water distribution, and T2 water treatment. John currently oversees a staff of 14 and has trained more than 24 licensed operators who continue to work in the field. Under John's direction, the Borough of Pompton Lakes, MUA, was the recipient of the Best Tasting Drinking Water contest in the state of New Jersey. Through his tenure, some of John's biggest accomplishments have been upgrading the infrastructure with the plant, wireless water meter systems, installing of water mains, and lower Twin Lake restoration. John was a lifetime resident of Pompton Lakes, lives in the town for 30 years, where he raised his 3 children, Andrea, Sabrina, and John. John will reside in his new home located in Forked River, New Jersey, after his retirement. Now, therefore, I, Michael Serra, Mayor of the Borough of Pompton Lakes, do hereby congratulate John on his retirement and wish him continued and happy success. I do hereby declare April 24th, 2024 as John Wegley Day in the Borough of Pompton Lakes.
I want to thank the mayor and council for this awesome award, and I want to thank the residents of Pompton Lakes for trusting me all these years, 39 years of service to you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
You want to get one? Okay.
Come on, kid, come on, come on, there we go.
You want someone else?
Thank you all guys so much. Have a great night, everyone.
All right, here's the big announcement. Anybody who would not like to stay for the rest of the meeting can leave right now.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
Is anybody here from the CASA? Oh, good. Okay, just stay there. Wait till everybody gets out and I'll read it. Okay, I have another proclamation that I'd like to read. Whereas children are vital to our borough's future, success, and quality of life, child abuse and neglect in the community responsible affecting both the current and future quality of life. Just close it.
Hold on.
No, she can't close the door.
I can't close it, no. Don't tell the fire marshal. All members of our community have a role to play in strengthening families to ensure children grow up in a safe, nurturing environment. All children deserve to have safe, stable, nurturing, and healthy homes that foster their well-being. There are close to 300 children in Passaic County who entered the child welfare system due to abuse or neglect. Some of these children reside in our borough. For the last 17 years, court-appointed special advocates, CASA, C-A-S-A, has provided court-appointed volunteer advocates for children throughout Passaic County, including in our borough. Due to an unmet need, the CASA organization has expanded its operations to support the close to 300 abused and neglected children living in foster care in Union County. CASA of Passaic and Union Counties needed additional advocates for all the children who are eligible for an advocate due to limited numbers of volunteers. Whereas as of April 24th, CASA of Passaic and Union will officially operate under the new organization umbrella named Child Focus to more fully support the multi-program approach to migrate the negative effects of children abuse on children within our community. Now, therefore, I, Michael Serra, Mayor of the Borough of Pompton Lakes in the County of Passaic, call upon all citizens and communities, faith groups, medical facilities, elected leaders, and businesses to increase their participation in the efforts to support children who have been abused and/or neglected. Be it further resolved that the Borough of Pompton Lakes supports Child Focus organization and the mission of CASA programs and proclaims April 2024 as Child Abuse Prevention Month. And I think our past Councilman Begg, was a member of this group and did serve in this group for many, many years. So I thank you guys. Please step forward.
No, thank you everyone from Pompton Lakes. We have a bunch of residents who actually are part of this town that serve as a CASA advocate. So we thank you on behalf of Child Focus now. As you saw, we changed our name to reach even further in Passaic and Union County and further from different counties. So thank you guys so much for your support, and we hope that some of you who are interested come to find out. We're located in our Wayne office off of Owens Drive, past the sheriff's office. And if you want to call and let us know, come find out what we're all about, how we serve these foster kids. I will be more at your disposal to be able to answer any questions that you have. So thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks. Take care.
moving on. Now we have another nice presentation of our Shade Tree Commissioners and our Arbor Day essay contest, and I'm going to give it off to Ann. Are you going to do the talk? So I'm going to move it off to Ann.
Read the proclamation after, or don't
Do I have a proclamation?
It's in the resolutions.
Okay.
After,
Yeah,
we have it as a resolution.
we have it as a resolution, not a proclamation.
No, we got a proclamation.
I don't know.
Oh, on Arbor, never mind, that's on Arbor Day.
Yes, we do one on Arbor Day, yes.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Ann Tassinelli, and I'm chairperson of the Pompton Lake Shade Tree Commission. We're here tonight to commemorate Arbor Day. This is the Pompton Lake Shade Tree Commission's 9th annual Arbor Day contest event. The 5th graders have been asked to write a letter to a tree, be it in their yard, in town, parks, or anywhere in the state of New Jersey. Then we, the commission, read each of these essays and choose one winner from each of the 2 5th grade classes. These winners will receive the opportunity to read their essay tonight and will then receive a special gift from the STC and a certificate from both STC and the town council. Now, with that said, I have some people to thank and bring notice to before we can move on to the readings. First, I would like to thank our mayor and council for allowing us the opportunity to hold this event here in the council chambers each year. A special thank you to Liz, Kathy Trost, Barbara Sishan for their support and hard work when residents come into the municipal building with their concerns and or when someone from the commission needs their help. Also, thanks to our borough administrator, Michael Corelli, for his support and assistance even in the short time he has been our administrator. I would like to thank my co-chair, Randy Hinton, who spends countless hours throughout the town surveying trees and determining their safety or their need for pruning or removal. He has become the shade tree steward. Randy will soon be putting up our 16th year Tree City signs at the entrances of town. Yes, this year we received our 16th year award, a flag and a trophy, for following all of the criteria necessary to be approved for the Tree City USA designation. Randy works tirelessly with Pete Wattieri, our county liaison and treasurer, also steward of trees, and commissioner, who also travels through town with Randy, his buddy, who also surveys trees while he runs his marathons through town. Madeline Denty, our secretary, yes, and an absolute asset to our commission, is in charge of organizing planting throughout the town for our spring and fall plantings. She also organized for 8 years now this Arbor Day event and does so with great pleasure and expertise. Madeline, who also organizes the National Night Out event to keep Shade Tree in the forefront of the town's visitors at that event. We have giveaways, we have a raffle, and we spend time educating or just interacting with those who wish to learn more about trees or have questions or an issue with a borough tree. Lastly, our newest member, Alexis Reed, who could not be here tonight, full-fledged and recently core-trained commissioner who has proven to be an amazing asset to our commission with her knowledge of available grants and strong technological experience to help us over hurdles we may encounter. We truly appreciate you, Alexa. I would also like to thank, last but not least, well, not really last, anyway, you're not really last, Maria Kent, who was a past member of Shade Tree Commission years ago and had been a part of many accomplishments, is now offering her expertise and support to us as liaison to the Shade Tree Commission. Thank you, Maria. Dan O'Rourke, our DPW superintendent, and Tim Duffy, our assistant superintendent, I hope I got that right, help out in any way they can, and when we ask for one or both of them, they're always there. So that ends my long-winded speech. I apologize for that, but we have to include everyone. Thank you for joining us, and we will now move on to the 2 fifth grade essays. We'll call you up. Okay, Layla. Layla, would you like to come up? We brought a copy of your essay just in case you didn't. Everyone, this is Layla McClendon.
Layla, go around.
Dear trees. Dear trees, you do so much for us. Some people don't realize how much you do for us. That's what Arbor Day is for, to celebrate and plant trees. You provide so many things for both humans and animals. You don't just help us breathe, you provide us shade and some animals shelter. You can provide human shelter too. We use wood to build houses, and some trees even provide fruits and nuts for animals. People don't appreciate you enough. You keep some animals alive. They eat food off of your branches or even your leaves. You're especially beautiful in the spring and summer. You turn all types of colors and glow in the sunlight. You're even pretty in the winter when you're covered in snow. You provide fresh oxygen and reduce air pollution by filtering harmful gases. You also help regulate the water cycle. You absorb carbon dioxide as they grow, and carbon you store in your wood helps slow the rate of global warming. I will always make sure the trees in my backyard stay healthy. I live where there's a lot of trees and plants. And they are all so beautiful. I would love to plant a tree on Arbor Day. I will think of you and all you do for us. You are some of the most beautiful plants in my opinion. So what's not to like about you? I love trees and I'm so thankful for them. From Layla McClendon.
One over here, Layla, we have a nice certificate for you.
Maddie, go do that.
Great job. You know, it's hard, and I know we have another one still to talk. It's very hard to talk in front of public. I still don't like doing it, and I've been doing this 15 years. So very good job for you by talking in front of public. Great job.
Now you go and hand her the.
Go get one again.
Go get it.
I have seen them bring it back up. Thanks, though. This is true.
Got out of that. I wanted to. Our next essay was done by Isabel Rosario.
Good evening, everyone. I will be reading this essay about an oak tree. Dear oak tree, I am writing to you today to show how much I appreciate you. Trees help the environment so much, I don't know what the world would do without you. You are special because you keep energy, are like teachers and playmates, and help people hear faster. One way you help the environment is by conserving energy. By reducing the energy demand for cooling our houses, we reduce carbon dioxide and other pollution emissions from power plants. Without your energy consumption, houses would be so hard to live in. Another way you are amazing is by being teachers and playmates. Whether as houses for children or creative and spiritual inspiration for adults, trees have provided the space for human retreat throughout the ages. You help me learn different kinds of flowers and birds and give me a beautiful space to play in. The last reason why you are helpful is you help people get better. Children with ADHD show fewer symptoms when they have access to nature. When people have ADHD or anxiety, trees show signals of peace to help them calm down. Some ways I will help trees survive are by taking care of the soil and environment. I will make sure nobody does anything bad to trees. Since trees do so much for humans, I will make sure to do the same for trees. Thank you for everything you have done for me and everyone else. Your biggest fan, Isabel Rosario.
I'm lucky in mind to give a proclamation to my neighbor. Who, now that you're into trees so much, anytime you want to come on my yard and pick up all the branches. Great job, good job talking, great job speaking. Again, the two girls did a great job speaking, let's give them a hand just for that.
Yes.
Okay, great job. Okay, that's one up. Anybody you want, bring everybody? Ann?
Yeah. If we'll get one with you, and then I'll bring everything.
Come on, no, no, no.
I can bring it up again. When we go to more, with his last meeting.
Okay, now we'll get it.
Great job.
We're gonna get a little picture with the shade tree. We have to get it, okay? We're gonna get a picture of the shade tree. Ready? All right, here we go. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, guys, thank you, Chris. And while we're talking about shade tree, they really do an outstanding job in our town in keeping track of our trees and keeping everybody on the up and up on how to work with trees. I know they get a lot of calls and there's a lot of running around, so I thank you guys for everything you do in the shade tree. Okay, Liz, whenever you're ready. Again, anybody who wants to leave can get out now.
Okay, so now this is the public hearing for the special improvement district budget.
No, no, it's okay. I guess they want this. Do it later.
Okay, go ahead, Liz.
Authorizing adoption of a budget in the amount of $323,300 for the special improvement district in the borough of Pompton Lakes for the year 2024.
Motion to open the meeting for public comment on 2024 Special Improvement District SID
So moved.
budget.
Second.
Council, President Devine, Councilman Cruz, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address just this question? Seeing no one, motion to close the meeting for public comment. Council President Devine,
Second.
Councilman Bennett, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion to approve the 2024 Special Improvement District SID budget for second reading and final adoption.
So moved.
Council President Devine,
Second.
Councilwoman Kilberg, roll call, please.
Councilman Cruz.
Yes.
Councilman Valon.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kent.
Yes.
Councilwoman Silver.
Yes.
Councilwoman Palmore.
Yes.
Councilman Bennett.
Yes.
Okay.
Want to make any comments on the?
What's that? I'm sorry?
Did you want to make any comments before?
Yeah, so, you know, the bid or SID as it's called, a lot of people don't realize that tax, if there's a special tax put on businesses in town, and a lot of the improvements that you see in town are done through that tax. You know, all the concert series that are put on at the library, which is a great job, brings all the residents out to support, is all put on by the bid. The holiday stroll, some of it's put on by the bid. This is a group of volunteers that put a lot of time and energy into making our town a better place with a lot of nice things to do. They have programs going all the time, and their biggest one right from the very beginning has been bid bucks. People come, you know, we sell out bid bucks in what, an hour sometimes? You know, $15,000 worth of bid bucks get sold in an hour. And all that money is spent here in Pompton Lakes. You can only use a bid buck in Pompton Lakes. So most of the businesses accept them and use them, and residents love them. So we thank you guys for all the hard work and everything you do with the bid. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, adoption of the 2024 municipal budget. You want to have the auditor make his opening statements?
Or do you want me to, you want to read it first, or? Yeah, let's read it first.
What are you gonna do, read the resolution first?
Well, because, why don't you come in the open session?
Uh,
Can you come before the open session?
Public hearing on the budget.
Okay, yeah, why don't you come up first, then we'll let you.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I just wanted to just read the title and then
I'll
open
be
it
just
up.
reading my own on the agenda. Well, just
You want me to read the title?
wait till.
Okay.
Okay, give us an update.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight's the public hearing and adoption of the 2024 budget. Every 3 years, the state reviews your budget. Other than that, normally you do self-examination of the budget. The other 2 years, the state has given their approval to adopt the budget. Basically, hold the public hearing on the budget, any comments, and then after that point in time, then you could do the resolution to adopt the budget.
Any questions?
So, comments from,
Questions? Okay, yes, Jim.
I'll read the by title.
Yep.
Be it resolved by the Borough Council of Borough Pompton Lakes and County Passaic that the budget herein report set forth is hereby adopted and shall constitute an appropriation for the purpose stated of the sums therein set forth, appropriations and authorization of the amount of $10,913,472.87 municipal purposes, $118,595 for open space, recreation, farmland, and historic preservation trust fund levy, and $573,904 for minimum library tax.
Okay, motion to open the meeting for public comments on the 2024 municipal budget.
Motion.
Councilman Bennett?
Second.
Council President Klein, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address just the budget? Seeing no one, motion to close the meeting for public comments on ordinance 2024, on comments on 2024 municipal budget. So moved. Council
Second.
President Klein, Councilman Cruz, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion to adopt the 2024 municipal budget for second reading and final adoption.
So moved.
Councilman Klein,
Second.
Councilman Bennett, roll call, please.
Councilman Cruz,
Yes.
Councilman Dewan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kent,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gilbert,
Yes.
Councilwoman Collier,
Yes.
Councilman Bennett.
Yes.
Okay. Can I have a motion to open the meeting for public comments?
So moved.
Councilwoman Kilbert,
Second.
Council President Devine, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public would like to address? Please step up. Out. Oh, let him go first. Look, you go next. Come on up, yeah, come on, sure.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
I'm Jen Frias, my wife Anna. I just want to show you something we found in our,
Oh, okay, just
Yeah,
gotta,
go on.
all I need you to do is just give your address.
527 Lincoln Avenue. Recently, there was work done on Lincoln Avenue, putting in new concrete to facilitate walkways so that people can cross Lincoln Avenue and like in my street, it's Passaic Avenue. My street, my lawn has been destroyed by this. This is what they first of all pitched it incorrectly, so the water is not coming off of it. It won't come off of it. As it goes down, it'll stay there and freeze in the winter. It cause problems. This is just one of the things that they
Don't
buried.
put it on the glass.
Okay, this is one of the things that they buried on my lawn. This is about a 30-pound, 35-pound piece of asphalt.
You have to see all the other stuff that we dug out of there.
Yeah, so what I think happened is, I'll step back.
Yeah, go to the microphone so you can hear.
What I think happened is that they did ours improperly, because there's other examples where it remained level and they just put a pitch so the water would go into the street. Mine, they dug down too far, and then they stuck these things in there to build it up. I don't know why, because when they put it back, it made this crest in my lawn that they can't even mow anymore. And where it's supposed to be pitched up to the street, it's level. It doesn't go anywhere. They did a horrendous job. And my house, I have a beautiful house, they ruined the front of my house, and I had, my guy come to do the lawn, and he found that amongst other things.
And he won't fix it. He said there's just too much work to do here.
You need major equipment, is what he was
So
saying.
what I do,
So
is
what- okay.
just so you understand, if you haven't been, I'll answer everybody at the end, at the end of this session. So give me any more statements you want, and then I'll answer.
Okay, we had a perfect walkway. We did it, it was pitch perfect, everything. They made it go down and up. Why? I don't know. So now the water collects at the bottom of this, and you have a puddle. So in the wintertime, you're gonna have ice. And people are gonna slip and fall. I mean, it looks horrible. And because of that, because they went down so far and up, the lawn has a huge part that's all mud. So when it rains, the mud goes down all over. Now, I always knew that when someone does work like that you hire someone, they're supposed to leave it the way they found it. The whole Lincoln Avenue, not just my house, all the other houses, they look like hell. We swept and cleaned when they were done. We had 3 buckets full of trash, of rocks and stuff that they should have cleared away. But I know they have to pay to get rid of it, so they left it.
All right, I'll answer you as soon as we're done with these questions.
What we're asking the council is that if you could help facilitate the repair of this. I mean, across the street, right, directly across the street from it's done perfectly. Down the block, it's done perfectly. I don't know why ours wound up the way that it did, but it's not fair,
No, I understand.
Like we're seeking relief.
And I'll get you an answer soon.
And some homes, they put cinder, Belgian blocks to where the land was higher. And then they just slapped cement on it. It looks like a 5-year-old did it. I mean, it looks like shit. That we paid so much money to fix everything nice, and you're gonna have crap like that? I would tear it right out.
All
If
right.
I was there when they did this, I would have stopped it immediately, because I had a perfect walkway. Why they destroyed it, I have no, they could have done their easements into the streets without destroying my sidewalk.
All right, thank you. I will answer you in a second.
One more thing.
Okay.
Does anybody know where you can get rid of that stuff? Because nobody takes it. You have to have an asphalt company. I mean, I know it's a boulder, it's sitting in front of my
One piece
house.
that we took out.
Yeah.
Again, I'll answer you about that.
All right,
too.
okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you.
That's our time?
Yeah, you can leave that there for now, and then we'll,
Okay.
anyone else from the public like to? Okay.
Good evening, everyone. I was asked to be the messenger here tonight, so I'm here representing the fire department as president because I have a presentation we'd like to give to the town. Several of our members participate every year in the Santa riding at the library.
Just need name and address.
Al Evangelista, Pompton Lakes Fire Department, Passaic Ave. They took a picture a couple of years ago. It was very iconic. It was our old 1926 American France, bringing Santa over to the library, and it was the last year, and this is why I asked the shade tree to stick around. I didn't know they were having this shade tree presentation tonight, but I thought it was very appropriate, and I would like them to hear it as well. This was the brainchild of one of our guys that sits on the historic committee, Ed Crowley, all right, who took the picture and took it upon him to have this blown up.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and this is the last year that that tree was on the library lawn. So it has a special purpose, a special meaning, I should say, to everyone. So they wanted me to present it to the council to find somewhere appropriate to hang
It's
it.
great, great.
In the borough wall here, they thought everybody should be privy to this picture. It is a gorgeous picture, got a lot of hits on our Facebook page. People in town loved it. And as I said, that was the last year for that tree, and then it was replaced, of course. So thank you to the guys that did it. Special thank you to Bill Houston, who carved and framed it at no cost. It was a donation. So I will leave that with Mr. Corelli here. And thank you, everybody.
Anyone else from the public like to address? Please step up.
Randy Hinton, 443 Montclair Ave. I really have nothing to say tonight.
I don't believe that.
I wasn't gonna speak, but I know this lovely couple on Lincoln Avenue, and they live right across the street from the other issue that I had brought before the council with that same contractor. Their neighbor across the street had an issue when they put the sidewalk. This is the handicapped access. And I would really like Michael Corelli and you, Mr. Mayor, to really look into this contractor to see if you can help them with their problem and the neighbor across the street. I don't know who this contractor was. I didn't even know the name of him, what stage he's at. I know that Lincoln Ave has to be repaid yet. Maybe they can solve these problems once they're back. Thank you.
That's it?
Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
Well, there's another public session later, is there not?
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public session?
So moved.
Council President Klein?
Second.
Councilwoman Kilberg, all in favor? Aye. Against? Okay, so back to your problem. Look, I understand completely what you're saying. They kind of did messed up where I was too, where I live. Mike, we're gonna have to get the engineer to take a look at this, so we'll send the engineers out to look at the site. I can't promise anything, but just so you know where this context is coming from. We had a different administration at the time when this happened, and that administrator kind of took this on to do by herself, and there wasn't a lot, it was done unusually. We don't usually do curbing and sidewalks normally. This time we did, and I don't know if it caused problems or not. I've walked the streets, I've gotten a lot of calls from neighbors about how things were done, or why this one was done and this one wasn't done, or the curb is too high, or all these things. So the best I can say is, Michael, can we send the engineers to take a look?
We'll call them tomorrow.
And have the address, right?
Yes.
And then on this piece, you think Dan can get rid of this for us?
I'll inquire tomorrow.
All right, so I'll see if our DPW can find a way to get rid of this for you. Okay, you can take your bag and everything. But we'll figure out a way to see if we can get rid of that. And you'll hear from our administrator, Mr. Corelli, at some point about when he comes back with how we're going to handle this. Okay? Al, thank you. It's a great picture. When they posted it initially, it was a great picture. We'll find a very nice place to hang that. It's, as we all know, we're redoing the Civic Center, and there might be a little historic piece to that inside where we're going to have some cabinetry to hold some historic pieces. Maybe that would be a good place for that to go. So I thank you. Mr. Hinton, you heard we're going to try to help and see what we can do. The other problem you brought up, we'll address it, but I know that was, I think, at the time, and I could be wrong, they said it didn't have to be a certain width for handicap accessibility. It's a certain width that they have to build, but it doesn't have to be excessive with that, but I could be wrong with that, so just double check that. So we will double check that. Michael, what do you want them to do with this right now? Take it with them?
Yeah, I'm gonna take your name and number, and I'll call you tomorrow.
So if you want to come get it now, you can come get it now, and then pack it up and just leave it at your house, and hopefully we can get rid of it for you. Okay. Approval of minutes. Motion to approve the following minutes. Regular meeting minutes, April 10th, 2024. Closed session meeting minutes, April 10th, 2024. Have a motion. Need a motion.
Motion. Second.
Who was the motion?
Motion me.
Councilwoman
Motion. Second.
Kent?
I'm sorry.
I didn't hear him either. Councilwoman Kent?
Yeah.
And Councilwoman
Yeah.
Gilbert?
I think I have to abstain, no?
Yeah, anybody who wasn't here, right?
Yeah, so that would be,
Present.
yeah, basically Councilman Bennett and Councilwoman Howard.
Okay, they have to correct this.
Present.
Present.
I was like, you don't vote.
I can say they are.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Authorizing payment of bills is listed below. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Councilman Blind,
Second.
Councilwoman Kent, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Resolutions, we're going to pull resolution 24-201. We got to pull it, not for discussion, just pull it. Anybody else need anything else pulled?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor and Borough Council, the Borough of Pompton Lakes have reviewed the consent agenda consisting of various proposed resolutions where the mayor and council of Borough of Pompton Lakes does desire to remove resolutions for individual actions from that agenda. Now therefore be it resolved that the following resolutions on the consent agenda are hereby approved. 24-196 through 24-206 and Republic 24-201.
Thank you. Motion to approve the resolutions.
So moved.
Second.
Council President
Excuse me.
Devine, Councilman Cruz, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Resolution for separate action.
Resolution 24-203, authorizing the issuance not to exceeding $3,630,222 bond anticipation notes in the Borough of Pompton Lakes in the County of Passaic.
Motion to approve resolution 24-203.
So moved.
Council President
Second.
Devine, Councilwoman Kilberg, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Roll call, please.
I'm sorry. Councilman Cruz.
Yes.
Councilman Devine.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kent.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kilburn.
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Yes.
Councilman Bennett.
Yes.
Okay, Liz, when you're ready, ordinances.
Ordinances for first reading, they'll be presented for second reading and final adoption on May 8th. Ordinance 24-22, amending chapter of refuse and recycling in the code of the Borough of Pompton Lakes, revising the penalties for violation of the provisions of that chapter.
Motion to approve ordinance 24-22 for introduction.
So moved.
Councilwoman Kent,
Second.
Council President Devine, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Roll call, please.
Councilman Cruz.
Yes.
Councilman Dewan.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kent.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kilburn.
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Yes.
Councilman Bennett.
Yes.
Okay, second reading. These ordinances have been advertised and posted on the municipal bulletin board. Bond ordinance 2418, bond ordinance appropriating $526,232 and authorizing the issuance of 501,150 bonds or notes in the borough of various improvements or purposes authorized to be undertaken by the Borough of Pompton Lakes in the County of Passaic.
Motion to open the meeting for public comments on ordinance 24-18.
So moved.
Council President Devine,
Second.
Councilman Bennett, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public would like to address just this ordinance? Seeing no one, motion to close the meeting for public comments on ordinance 24-18.
So moved.
Council President Devine,
Second.
Councilwoman Kent, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion to approve ordinance 24-18 for final adoption.
So moved.
Council President Devine,
Second.
Councilman Bennett, roll call, please.
Councilman Cruz.
Yes.
Councilman Dewan.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kent.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kilburn.
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Yes.
Councilman Bennett.
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance 24-19, amending chapter 4 of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Pompton Lakes and amending the fees for the dog park sponsorship.
Motion to open the meeting for public comments on ordinance 24-19.
So moved.
Councilwoman Kilburg, Council President Devine, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address just this ordinance? Seeing no one, motion to close the meeting for public comments on ordinance 24-19.
So moved.
Councilman Cruz,
Second.
Councilman Bennett, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion to approve ordinance 24-19 for final adoption. Need a motion? Motion?
I'll make a motion.
Council President Polidori, Council President Devine,
Second.
Councilwoman Polidori, roll call, please.
Councilman Cruz.
Yes.
Councilman Dewan.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kent.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kilburn.
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Yes.
Councilman Bennett.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 24-20, amending the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Pompton Lakes and regulating the removal, protection, and replacement of trees located on private property.
Motion to open the meeting for public comments on ordinance 24-20.
So moved.
Council President Devine,
Second.
Councilwoman Kent, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? So I know some council people had asked to remove this one. We do have to pass it by May 1st. We can change it after we put it in place. We can talk about fines and numbers and all those things that can be changed, if anybody's interested.
I did just ask to have additional discussion on it. I was told it would come in after closing public.
Okay. Anyone from the public like to address just this ordinance? Yeah. Okay, motion to close the meeting for public comments on ordinance 24-20.
So moved.
Councilman Cruz?
Second.
Councilwoman Gilbert? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Discussion?
Can we just walk through it again? Because I have some conflicting information as to why we have to put this through the way we are putting it through now. It seems a little strict to me. So I just want to make sure that we can put through the minimum of what we are required to put through without putting too much of a burden on the residents.
And I think everybody up here agrees with you. And I think that is a discussion we've had when we had the meeting, and I think Shade Tree also agrees with that. I spoke with Michael, and we feel the best thing is to get it through, and then we can change it to any numbers that we want to change it to. We'll have to have a discussion on penalties, on fees. We can change it anytime we want, but it does have to be done by this meeting. Or we can get, and Michael, jump in if there's a penalty somehow we're involved and it's not done.
So just so that you understand, I wasn't done. I did reach out to one of our assemblymen to ask for some further clarification, which I did tell you I was going to do. And apparently we don't have to. We're not being required to adopt this as it's written. We are being told that we have to have some type of an ordinance on the book, which you explained to me. Ours covers public, but not private, so it has to be amended to include provisions for private. But there's a lot of other language we've written into ours that is more than what is being required. So I'm just wondering why.
Thank you, Councilwoman. So we have the model ordinance from the Department of Environmental Protection. Our stormwater consultant, borough engineer, and borough attorney all reviewed it. They recommended the model be adopted, as has all of the surrounding municipalities. Our ordinance mirrors most ordinances surrounding Pompton Lakes. We can amend the fees, but to go back to the March council meeting, I did provide an analysis on the fees. And the recommendation was to adopt as is. However, we can amend it. But if we do not adopt it tonight, we are putting our stormwater management program at risk if it's not adopted. So the recommendation is to adopt it, and then at the next council meeting, we'll go back and look at the fees and talk about anything we would like to change immediately. So,
Does
Okay,
that,
so, go ahead, sorry.
I'm sorry, does that also include some of the verbiage that states, because in there it says, if an arborist comes out and feels that your tree died because you put too much mulch around the bottom of it, you can receive a fine for that. Not, like, that's up to $1,000. Like, that's pretty strict.
we could tone that down.
Yeah, so, and that was another thing I asked about. It doesn't seem that the language requires that we have an arborist, because my question was, why do I need to have an arborist come onto my property to look at a tree? If the tree is sitting in the middle of the yard where I want to put a pool, I don't care if it's healthy or not. If I'm putting a pool there, it's irrelevant. I'm taking the tree down. So what is the purpose of an arborist examining a tree that I want to remove from my private? I understand why they come out to examine borough right-of-way trees, right? But on private property, there's other reasons that someone would remove a tree that would make whether the tree is or isn't healthy irrelevant.
Well, if you were to remove a tree on your private property, we would need the arborist to come out to so if, for instance, if you suggested that the tree was dying, the resident wouldn't have to abide by the replacement schedule. So we need the arborist to verify that, because the ordinance sets forth a replacement schedule of 1-to-1, 1-to-2, 1-to-3, 1-to-4 trees, and we need to make sure that that tree is in fact dead or diseased or a hazard, and at that point, it would be waived in the ordinance for the resident.
And the arborist would also verify the tree caliper.
Right,
To
size.
determine what needed to be replaced or paid for, things like that.
Exactly. So if you were putting on an addition or a pool or a garage or another structure, we would need a verification as to how wide the tree is, the diameter, because that determines how many trees you have to replace it with or pay the fee to the borough for.
Well, I think what I'm having the hardest time with is the governmental overreach. Like, if the state wanted all of the municipalities to pass this, why didn't they just make it a state law? And I would think that's because it's unconstitutional, and in my mind, it makes it not right. That's what I have a hard time with.
We have to
Going on
remember, we do
someone's
not live in a
private-
silo. What one does on one person's property impacts your neighbors. We don't have acres in between our houses here. You chop down all your trees, guess what? Your neighbor has a basement, you're getting more water in your basement because there's no tree there to absorb the water. So if you're not going to put a tree back up, you're going to put money in so that we put a tree somewhere else. So maybe your neighbor might flood a little bit less.
You know, and I'm listening to everybody what they're saying. I too believe it's too severe. I do. I think, you know, when it's private property, we're starting, and I agree with Michael, we don't have a say. This is coming from the state, and they're doing it a little sneakily, where they're saying, if you don't do it, we're not telling you you're gonna, but you could lose your funding for this. And that's where it becomes the issue. Our soil permits could disappear from that. Can we play with the numbers, $1,000, you know, I know what's gonna happen. Someone's gonna put a pool in or put a deck in, take 6 trees down, didn't know they had to do it, and now that could be, the way it reads now, a $6,000 fine, because that's $1,000 a tree. You know, and that to me is ridiculous. But on the other hand, we do have to have some type of management of what you're doing on the property. Like Eric said, is it a large tree, is it a small tree? If it's a very large tree, you might have to replace 4 trees, and that's what the ordinance, we can't change that part.
Yes.
That has to stay. So it's just about the numbers, and I do have a problem with the numbers, but according to what Michael and the attorney and our engineer said, we can do that after the fact. We do have to pass this now.
So we have development coming into town, and now we have Lakeside Commons, which is a completed project, and Meridia, which is underway, and neither one of those projects have any type of requirement for green space whatsoever. You have Lakeside Commons that allows dogs, which are now, we know, is problematic because they're letting their dogs go to the bathroom on high school property and neighboring property. And at no point in time did we look at the big guy and say, you know what, you have to have a certain percentage of this allocated to putting green space down and planting new trees and contributing to the environment. No requirements there whatsoever for someone that can absorb fees and expenses. But now we're turning around and saying to our neighbors, this is your private property, your taxes are already high, but here's some more fees and fines and penalties for you. So I think if this is what needs to be done, we need to be a little bit more conscientious of how we spread that burden across not just the everyday guy who pays to maintain their own home already. I just don't understand
Well, the
this.
projects you're talking about didn't take any trees down. This is
Oh, but they
about-
could have been required to add trees.
Right, but that has nothing to do with this part. This is about taking trees down. So if you take trees down, they have to be replaced. That's what the state is saying. That was not what we're saying, that's what the state is saying. And if I understand correctly, Michael, a lot of towns have already incorporated and have been doing this for a while, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Michael,
Okay, sure.
Michael, do we have to send a copy of this approved ordinance or adopted ordinance to DEP?
Yes, it's part of our annual stormwater submission, which is actually coming up shortly in May. And this ordinance is just one of many stormwater ordinance that the DEP puts out that we must adopt. There's salt dome storage, there's retrofitting of inlets, cleaning of inlets, there's all kinds of different regulations that we have to abide by. But most of those ordinances we've adopted in the past already.
Okay. Before we go to roll call, I'm just going to say one thing, and it's personally, I agree with much of the council that this is an overreach, and not necessarily that this law isn't well intended in its actuality, but the fact is that we're passing pretty much the exact same ordinance in Glen Ridge as you would in Toms River, as you would in Barnegat, as you would in Wildwood, et cetera, et cetera. There's 565 municipalities that all have different needs, different environs, different things like that, and we're all forced to pass the same law. That being said, we have to pass this law. It would be irresponsible for any of us to vote no against this ordinance. Principles stand aside, I get it. I would not like to see this ordinance. We've had the ability to voluntarily have a tree removal ordinance. We've never made that decision, but we should not be risking the borough and ourselves by not passing this ordinance tonight.
No, I understand that, but I would like to be conditional in understanding that we'll pass it so that we can check our boxes and not put ourselves in any trouble, but that we have the ability to revisit this and strip it down to what is absolutely required, and that we're not being overly aggressive and burdensome on our residents.
I'd like to do that soon, like, I don't want to wait.
No, I
to do
would say
that.
the next meeting we should.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Everybody's okay with that?
I feel
Okay,
better now.
roll call, please. Motion to approve ordinance, I didn't do that. Motion to approve ordinance 2420 for final adoption.
Motion.
Councilman Bennett,
Second.
Council President Devine, roll call, please.
Councilman Cruz,
Yes.
Councilman Dewan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hilda,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caledonia,
Yes.
Councilman Bennett.
Yes.
Ordinance 24-21, amending Chapter 190 of the Municipal Code of the Borough of Pompton Lakes, amending the stormwater control regulations in compliance with the requirements of the NJDEP stormwater rule.
Just want to give us an update on that one?
There's a memorandum in the packet from the stormwater consultant. But in short, this is to bring our current stormwater control ordinance up to par due to various state laws that were enacted within the last 2 years, including the Inland Flood Protection Rule, which was adopted in 2023.
Motion to open the meeting for public comments on ordinance 24-21.
Motion.
Councilman Bennett.
Second.
Councilwoman Kilberg, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address Justice Small ordinance? Seeing no one, motion to close the meeting for public comments on ordinance 24-21.
So moved.
Council President Devine,
Second.
Councilwoman Kilberg, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion to approve ordinance 24-21 for final adoption.
Motion.
Councilman Bennett,
Second.
Council President Devine, roll call please.
Councilman Cruz,
Yes.
Councilman Dewan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hilda,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caledonia,
Yes.
Councilman Bennett.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, under my report. I was invited by the mayor of Oakland to speak at a summit about the proposed cement plant being built on the border of Pompton Lakes in Oakland. Representatives from the Bergen County Commissioner's offices were there, along with other state and local representatives. Really, this is a problem for us too, because they want to build a cement plant that crushes cement into smaller pieces of cement right on the line of Pompton Lakes and Oakland. Off of Colfax. Oakland does not want this. None of the residents in Oakland want this. Obviously, we don't want it. And what I really spoke about was what Tilcon does here in our town with the dust and the debris and the noise that we've been dealing with for so many years. So they were very grateful to hear that. They're going to push very hard to not make this happen, but we can't make any promises. So we have to stay on top of that. We have talked as a council that we might try to put something in place from our side on truck traffic coming in, and we'll talk more about that. Okay. Had a nice conversation with Congressman Pasquale on our historic library and the $500,000 appropriation we'll be receiving for the library this Friday. So anybody who's interested, at 11 a.m., will be receiving a check from Congressman Pasquale for work being done at the library. He was very interested in the history of the building, and I think he's going to bring that up. We all know that's one of our historic spots in town and what kind of represents Pompton Lake. So it's good to see we're going to get some money to fix that up. I've asked for and received a meeting with the DEP representative in charge of the dam operations. We have invited some surrounding mayors to attend this meeting and hopefully, and a couple assembly people, and hopefully we can get some answers to a lot of the questions we're asking about how it works. What I really asked for was a meeting with the DEP commissioner. They gave me this gentleman who works for the DEP who's in charge of the dam operations. I'm hoping to move forward from there because one of the issues that our flood advisory board has brought up and others is when you look at Oakland's side, the water level is actually lower on Oakland before they open the gate to get on our side. So we're actually higher on the Pompton side and lower on the Oakland side. So I want to understand more about that, so maybe he can give us some answers I don't know. I had numerous meetings with their administration and engineers trying to fix some of the damage, and Councilwoman Canton, Councilman Dwight, trying to fix some of the damaged trails down on the south end from all the storms we've had. I can, to be honest, we're not really getting too far with that proposal, and we're bumping heads with a lot of different groups on everything we want to do. If you've walked the trail down there, a lot of the trail has kind of fallen into the Ramapo River at this point. So we're going to actually, if we can't do something, have to close the trail down for some time or maybe move the trail. So we still have some more discussions on it, but we really haven't gotten too far with that. I met with the volunteer ambulance squad along with Mike to address some concerns with equipment they'd like to get in the future. I attended the firemen's installation dinner last month, a great event, a lot of great awards. Some people getting awards there 30 years, 40 years, 45 years. Think about that. You're in your 70s and 80s even fighting fires. You got to give them a lot of credit for doing that. And I attended numerous meetings, the recreation meeting, historic meeting, planning board, a couple others, and that is my report. Council President Dawn.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to congratulate all the winners and essayists and anybody who wrote an essay about for Arbor Day. It's always a great day to hear what our third graders write about the trees in our borough. So again, and I thank the Shade Tree for continuing to put this on. It's 9 years running, I think, as Ann said, and they read every single essay that comes through. And I don't know if Maria was part of the reading as well. I believe that, so good job to you, because that's a lot of reading. April 15th, I attended the MUA meeting. This is going to be a slightly long discussion. First of all, I want to congratulate John Wegley for an illustrious career. I think he mentioned 39 years, almost 4 decades of service to the borough of Pompton Lakes in water and wastewater. He rose through the ranks. He didn't just walk in one day and said, I'm the executive director. He earned his spot to run this organization as well as it is. And it is a critical organization that provides water and wastewater to the entire town. They're first responders, ultimately. They're always on call. They respond to a fire emergency because the gas has to be turned, or not the gas has to be turned off, but the water has to be turned off, the wastewater turned off. They have to assist the fire department with the hydrants as necessarily. If there's a water main break, we've all seen them. They're out in the middle of the night addressing that water main break. Doesn't matter how cold, how hot it is, how dark it is, or anything like that. They're addressing those emergencies. And to have an organization that does that kind of work, you need good leadership, and John provided that leadership. So again, I thank him for his service. Good luck in his career, or the rest of his non-career, actually. But I wish him the best of luck. To let residents know, the spring hydrant flushing program will be starting on April 29th, being performed between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. Residents may experience a temporary discoloration in their water or a drop in water pressure. Again, if you experience a discoloration in water, just run the cold water tap of your sink and it'll clear up. The MUA performed 40 water and sewer markouts between the middle of March and the middle of April. They did respond to the House Fire 145 Marion Court and shut off the water there. The design for the PFAS treatment has began. There is an article, I believe, on NorthJersey.com. PFAS is known as the forever chemical. There's ongoing discussions with settlements for 3M and DuPont. So not every town is going to just has to bear the cost of this PFAS treatment. There is, I think, probably be done to the state level and then be distributed to the water services that have to address this. The MUA did complete the purchase of 279 Ramapo Street. I mentioned this last meeting or last month. That is being purchased. That home is being purchased because they have to build a 1,4-dioxane treatment plant. Again, another chemical that is found. It's actually found in groundwater and drinking water. Up until recently, it was only regulated in the groundwater and not drinking water. That's been changed by the EPA and down to the DEP. So now water authorities have to treat that particular chemical. They adopted a resolution they have a resolution to adopt new water rates. These new rates will be placed on the Pompton Lakes MUA website not later than April 30th. I actually checked earlier tonight. These proposed rates are on the website currently. So any resident can go on, see what the new proposed rates are. And again, as I mentioned last time, what the big driving force behind these increased rates is the increased requirements for capital projects, the treatment for the 1,4-dioxane, the treatment for the PFAS, things like that. So there is a public meeting at the Monday, May 20th MUA meeting at 6 p.m. It's in the MUA offices, 2000 Lincoln Avenue, basically the end of Lincoln Avenue. So at that point, they'll do a public hearing to vote on the adoption of these new proposed rates. Finally, the last thing I wanted to bring up is, as I mentioned before, the MUA had began a wastewater treatment plant capacity analysis report, and they completed this report. And I think this report actually has significant implications for the town and redevelopment in the town. And I'm not going to read through every single number, but basically there is a limited number of wastewater capacity that the MUA has currently. That affects the size of projects that can come in. And there's several tiers of it. Up to 85% of the utilization of of the use of the capacity, there's something called a treatment works application that goes to DEP. Anything that requires over 8,000 gallons per day of wastewater treatment has to be approved by DEP, gets reviewed by DEP. That's up to 85%. So once they cross that threshold where the wastewater treatment goes above 85%, anything between 85 and 90% at that point, every single connection that is proposed in the borough, new connection now has to be reviewed by DEP. So before, there was a threshold before it had to be reviewed by DEP. Now there's a threshold that DEP reviews every single connection. So the 85%, and I know there's some numbers and discussion about, well, we've only got so much capacity. That's the lower number is the capacity up to 85%. After that, it becomes sort of out of the MUA's hands because, or at least as of right. So if you've got, again, like a smaller project, for example, the county property utilizes 7,500 gallons per day of wastewater. That does not trigger that TWA application. If we were to exceed 85%, a project like that would do it regardless of what it's actually generating. And then once you get to 95%, that's a hard cap. They always want some kind of reserve. So at that point, it fundamentally stops. So there's some wiggle room. There's not much wiggle room, and that's going to affect the size of projects that can get approved in Pompton Lakes, subject to different requirements, and then ultimately not at all. And I just wanted to bring that to people's attention. Redevelopment I still think it's important. I think it needs to happen. I think we're doing it the right way in many ways. However, there are fundamental issues or capacity issues that need to be addressed as we move forward. And that is, so then there was a redevelopment agency that Thursday. There was a couple concept plans by Mr. Rahman and enclosed portico for 54 Wanacue Avenue, which is where the Salvatore's Tailor Shop is. And I attended the Ballroom Dance Studio grand reopening. I got to serve in the capacity of the mayor. The facility looks amazing if you haven't seen it. I know members of our bid were there, a number of members of the council were there. Again, as I mentioned in the discussion that day, it's a case of a business that grew and then turned around and reinvested in Pompton Lakes. They grew to a newer and better facility. They doubled down on the capacity. It was phenomenal attendance. There was so many people there, and they had a full program for the entire day. I'd like to say that it was the largest attendance of a grand reopening or a grand opening that we've had. So, Mayor, you have your work cut out for you now. And that concludes my report.
Well, if I was at that one, I would have danced. Did you dance?
Nobody wants to see me dance.
Just check. Okay, Councilwoman Kent.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank Al Evangelista for presenting the beautiful photo of the fire truck and the tree at the library. I know everybody was heartbroken when we had to take those trees down. The Shade Tree Commission tried very hard to keep them up and running as long as they could, but they were just sick and it was their time. So having that memorialized in that beautiful picture, thank you, Bill, for your donation. I'm very happy to see that. I also want to congratulate the winners of the Arbor Day essay contest, and I know that the members of the Shade Tree Commission, they do work very hard. They reviewed every letter that came in to the town for review, and then we discuss it, and they do a great job. So thank you, Maddie. You did a great job with the packages. I also I've known John Wegley since I moved here almost 40 years ago, and he is just an amazing, he was an amazing person to have as a friend and to have on the MUA. He gave 100% of the time, no matter what it was. He always helped, and I wish him all the best. I attended the CERT training session on how to handle victims since I'm a new CERT member, and I'm very proud to be there. I also attended the ribbon cutting for the ballroom dancing and the Sneakers Arcade, so it's nice. We've got a couple new businesses. Sneakers Arcade had so many young kids buying sneakers and doing arcade things, so it was a lot of fun. And we were with the bid folks and the Chamber of Commerce, so really nice event, and it's really good to have new businesses coming in. I also facilitate the Open Space Committee meeting 2 weeks ago. And again, we're discussing the upcoming projects, including the gazebo, whether we're going to replace it or put a brand new gazebo totally, upcoming dock, and upgrades to the old Moeller property and the fence line. And we're looking at timelines to doing that. And we have a 5-year plan, which is being discussed, so that's all in the works. I also attended the bid meeting, and I'm trying to work with the borough on the garbage replacement for the tenants and getting that thing resolved. So I'm on the sideline on that, but I want to see that finished. And I also attended the Pompton Lakes Chamber of Commerce dinner. There was a large number, probably one of the largest, that I was under the impression of business owners that attended the dinner when it was at Tony's, along with Father John from the Pompton Reformed Church. The Chamber next week is going to sponsor a community meal, and that $400 from the Chamber will be donated, and a number of the bid members and Chamber members will be serving the residents. There will be shredding May 4th from 8 o'clock in the morning to 11 at the high school parking lot. So if you can get there and get your stuff shredded, it doesn't cost you anything. It's a great service that we provide. There's an upcoming Memorial Day concert scheduled for May 25th at the library lawn, and it is free. In addition to the other businesses, I should mention we have 3 new ones: Juicy Deli, Cakes by Iz, and Sombrero Takura, and they're all on Wanacue Avenue. So it's nice to see those buildings now having, operating businesses. I walked in the Pompton Lakes Riverdale Little League Parade this past Saturday with Councilman Venon and Councilwoman Kilberg. Councilman Venon and I, we threw the first pitch of the season. I'm going to say I rolled it out instead of throwing it, but it was truly an honor to attend. It was truly an honor to attend and to be a part of that whole event. I do attend the April 26th meeting with the congressman at the library for the grant. I think that's important that we acknowledge that that's a very generous donation. And I also signed the borough bills, which is very important. And I do want to make mention that it's been all over Facebook. I want to congratulate this town for however we did this, making the #1 retirement town in New Jersey. So, I'm thrilled. I don't have to move now, okay? So I want everybody to know. And that is my report.
And I should just put a little caveat to that. When they did that study, it wasn't about the money part of retiring. It's about the options that we offer. We have a nice lake. We have a beautiful downtown to walk to. We have hiking trails nearby. I know a lot of people are saying, how could I even live here? It's North Jersey. It is what it is. But a very nice award to have. You're right. Councilwoman Gilbert.
Okay. First, I'd like to say Happy Administrative Professionals Day, and thank you to everyone that works so hard for the borough and to keep the town running on a daily basis. I had the honor of walking in the Pompton Lakes Riverdale Little League Parade. It was fun. It was a beautiful day for a parade. I also attended the grand opening for the Ballroom Studio and the Sneaker Arcade. Much success to them both. I attended the Environmental Protection Committee meeting. They're preparing themselves for the river cleanup. I picked up the t-shirts for that day. So if you have not signed up, you can do so that morning, or you can sign up at tinyurl.com/Pompton River Cleanup. The library board meeting was canceled this month due to lack of quorum. And there is a vacant seat. So there is 2. So if anyone's interested, they can please reach out to the library director, Michael Drazik, the mayor, or myself. It was a pleasure to attend the Board of Ed meeting this month. At that meeting, they handed out Educator of the Year awards to Mr. Kevin Sullivan from Pompton Lakes High School, Ms. Tina Brazindi from Lakeside, Mrs. Jennifer Cooper, and from Lincoln, and the Educational Service Professional Dr. Jessica Artisis. I also attended the recreation meeting. You can now register for summer day camp. It is for pre-K to 6th grade. The camp runs from June 24th to July 26th. Camp is closed on July 4th and 5th. Camp runs from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Hirschfield Park. One child is $450, 2 children are $570, 3 children are $675. And if you sign up after June 1st, there will be a late fee of $25 per family. The middle school summer camp is for grades 7 through 9th at the Pompton Lakes High School. It runs from July 8th through July 19th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and it's $190 for 2 weeks. You can register online at capturepoint.com. Registration sheets can also be found at Borough Hall. And that is it.
You have this, you want to read it?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. The Pompton Lakes High School will be hosting the Passaic County Tennis Championships on May 2nd, 2024. So I'd like to make a motion because they would like to close the dog park at Hirschfield Park from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Polidori, all in favor?
Aye.
And they'll take care of the signage, Liz, right? We'll
I'm
speak to them.
I'll send a letter to the school and have them take care of the sign.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilwoman Polidori.
Thank you. I also would like to wish all of the administrative professionals in the borough a happy Administrative Professionals Day. Thank you for all that you do every day. I would like to congratulate the 2 students that won the tree essays for this year. Beautifully done. I always look forward to that every year. Also, I would like to thank John Wegley, not only for his service to his country, but also for his long-standing service to our community. He's a good man. I know him. I know the family well, and it was an honor to have him here, and I wish him the best of luck in the next chapter of his life. I was not here last council meeting, so I didn't get a chance to say that I was very impressed with the way that CTO Day operated again. The kids did a great job. Also, I hope that everyone enjoyed their Easter, and if you are currently celebrating Passover, happy holiday to you as well. Today, I wrapped up the financial literacy readings at the library. Every Wednesday this month, I was meeting with 5th and 6th grade students upstairs in the library to read age-appropriate books that pertain to financial literacy concepts because April is Financial Literacy Month. I actually had some parents sit in this time, which was really nice, and was able to share some good information. Hopefully, some of the kids will follow up, and I look forward to doing it again next year. The books were chosen from an age-appropriate reading list based on certain topics that pertain to financial literacy. I purchased 6 books, I think, and then donated them all to the library. So they are in the library to be checked out for future use for students that were not able to attend but would still be interested. I also attended a panel in Morris County where a bunch of mayors were asked to sit and speak, and numerous elected officials, mayors, councilwomen, councilmen, other professionals that service municipalities had attended. It was a panel discussion. Topics were pilot programs, redevelopment, Oprah requests, amongst a few other things, opinions on how the referendum for marijuana was then versus what they've seen now, and many towns haven't really changed their stance on it. It seemed to has not really changed much of the position, but it was interesting to hear different perspectives from different leaders in different communities on where they stand, and particularly redevelopment. So I know we have some future discussions on that, and I have some thoughts and concerns that I hope we have the opportunity to discuss in greater detail, especially considering now that we've come to the realization that the project, am I to understand the project that is being proposed at Pompton Plaza exceeds current capacity?
So yes and no, and that was my point originally. It would exceed the 85%. It would not exceed the 90%.
Okay, that project, upon completion, would make it difficult for projects after that because of the size of that project then?
That's correct.
Okay, so we have, and I will tell you, of those mayors that were sitting there, not one of them has a redevelopment agency. Redevelopment is run through the planning board and the council. And there are 565 municipalities in the state of New Jersey, and I was sent information by an attorney that specializes in redevelopment that he believes there's approximately 20 towns in New Jersey that have redevelopment agencies, and we are one of the smallest, if not the smallest. So I think we're hitting a point where we have a lot of information being moved around planning board to redevelopment to council here and there, and maybe we're not crossing all of the Ts and dotting all of the Is, because I feel that this project has now been proposed numerous times, and we're only finding out after the fact that we are at 1 year capacity. And I spent a lot of time last year asking for updated information on the impact of redevelopment on utilities, infrastructure, schools, and was told that the information was there, it was relevant, and we were fine. And in fact, that might not be the case. So I'd like to continue to discuss really what the role and responsibility of redevelopment is, and if in fact they are necessary, if this isn't something that the planning board itself shouldn't be handling. I watched a tape where one of the redevelopment members was asking about the overall concept and end game. The question was kind of kicked back to the engineer, and then it was passed over to the planning board, and now there's a lot of explanation coming out that they are in fact not the approving entity. They're just kind of like a middleman. So I'm not even really sure what the purpose of that is. There is a highly competent council elected by the residents of this town sitting up here that are perfectly capable of reviewing documents with just as much skill set as anybody else, and a highly qualified planning board that actually drafted the master plan. So perhaps that's something we can talk about. Friday is Arbor Day. I would like to thank Michael for helping me in a pinch this year. Typically, this is run by the state through the schools. This year, the borough stepped in to help out. The trees were not available for the free third grade tree program, but we didn't want to see it not happen this year. I've been doing it for almost 8 years now. So I, along with Randy Hinton from the Shade Tree Commission and Councilwoman Kilberg, will be at Lenox and Lincoln for the third grade tree presentation on Friday. So I'm excited that we are able to do that. And there is a pasta dinner at the Elks on Friday. It is a fundraiser this year for a scholarship for one of our first responders that has taken a step away from her career to return to full-time paramedic school to continue to service the borough and to continue to help in another capacity. So they are doing some fundraising for her to help offset the school costs. So if you're around, pasta dinner is a big hit at the Elks, and it is Friday night. And that is my report.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Bennett.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to congratulate the Pompton Lakes High School on their performance of The Little Mermaid. It was an amazing performance. A bunch of kids that we recognize and know were in the show. Saturday morning, Sticker Shock. Thank you, Ryan, for putting that together, as well as Miss Riccardelli from the Hawk Club. We put stickers on. We visited, I believe, half a dozen liquor stores and put stickers on that indicate if they can't buy it, don't supply it. And we were done within an hour. And then, speaking of Ryan, the stigma-free walk for Hope is on May 11th. Please sign up. We're aiming for 100 folks. We're almost there, I think. Reached out to the scouts today. Congratulations to the grand opening folks. We attended a handful of grand openings this past week. The Pompton Reformed Church is holding our free dinner tomorrow night, Thursday night at 5:30, 7:30. It's free for the community. And that is my report, Mayor.
That sticker shock program you brought up is such a nice program because it's kids going into liquor stores and putting on those stickers explaining what they have to do. You know, that's them taking the initiative to do what they have to do to protect themselves and their regular classmates. I give them all the credit in the world for doing that, and I always have. That's a hard thing for them to do when you're a senior in high school.
One more thing, Mayor. May 11th, Trails Maintenance, 10 a.m.
Okay.
We meet down by the MUA. That's all I got.
Councilman Cruz.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a short report this evening, but before I begin, okay, so I think my laptop is, good timing. Just give me 1 second while my laptop is updating right in the middle of my,
Can I add something real quick while Bobby's updating? Maybe I can jump in real quick for 1 second? I did forget to mention, and I apologize, I did attend the bid meeting, and I thought of that while I looked up and saw all you fine folks here with us still. I'm working with the bid on making sure that the language in the sign and awning facade grants are at least in line and somewhat similar to what is listed in Borough Code, so that the bid can actually execute that program, which is outstanding, right? So for all of you that don't know, the bid has a program where they offset and subsidize some of the costs for upgrades to facades and signs, should you be a new business coming in or a business or a building owner looking to upgrade the outside. We just want to make sure that the language speaks the same so that there's no conflict as to why an individual wouldn't want to abide by the criteria set forth by the bid so that they can get reimbursed. Because I think the goal is that we have some uniformity and neatness and at least some type of a style that's approvable. So I think there was some questions as to whether or not their language matched with ours. So hopefully we can have that resolved before the next bid meeting.
Bobby, yeah.
Yeah, again, I just want to, with the rest of council as well, to congratulate all the Arbor Day Essay Contest winners, and also John Wigan on his retirement, excuse me, after 39 years of service. That is amazing, and I wish him the best. I just want to remind the public that the Pompton Lakes Prevention Coalition is occurring May 11th. That is to begin at 10 a.m. for registration. They do offer it online as well. It is a Google form. It's very easy to do. And please share this with your friends and family. There will be water, food, and fun activities for everyone. And there is no rain date, so it's rain or shine.
I think there's a meeting Monday, too.
And there's a meeting, is it this Monday?
I think so.
Right? And lastly, I attended the Board of Adjustments meeting. It was a very brief meeting. They approved application BOA 24-01, and that next meeting is May 28th at 8 p.m. Borough Hall. And I'll do it for my report.
Thank you. Our substitute attorney, have any report?
Nice meeting all of you tonight. Nothing to report on specifically tonight. Gone basically through everything.
Good. Welcome.
Thank you.
Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. So for residents, you may see work being undertaken along Wanacue Ave. The Wanacue Ave paver repairs and replacements project is underway and is expected to be completed within the next 3 weeks. The contractor will be doing the work on the westerly side of Wanacue Ave, and all of the pavers that were in disrepair, sunken, or broken will be replaced. So I think the businesses will appreciate the work that's being done.
That's a great thing. That's a big deal.
The library parking lot repairs started today. So just so for all of you so you're aware, the back library parking lot was not in ADA compliance and was never finished when the renovation was done to the back structure. So the contractor is flushing the asphalt with the back concrete pad, and that should be finished tomorrow. So that should be a good improvement. For residents, Lincoln Ave Improvements Project, milling will begin on May 23rd and May 24th, with paving on May 28th and May 29th, directly after Memorial Day. The school system is off on May 28th and 29th, so that is why we picked those days, to minimize the effect on the Lincoln Elementary School drop-off zone. So police presence will be involved, and we are certainly going to immediately address the concerns that were brought up tonight. We will be holding a pre-construction meeting for the Howard Street repairs project next week, so residents should have a firmer schedule within the next week or two on that. That'll be posted to the borough website. Tonight, the governing body adopted the dog park sponsorship program, so that's posted on our borough website and has been mailed out to all of Pompton Lakes business owners. And again, businesses can sponsor a banner at the Pompton Lakes Dog Park, and those funds go towards the maintenance of the park moving forward and potential upgrades. So looking forward to that. And lastly, I'm working with DPW on installing American flags on all of the utility poles along Colfax Ave. I'm told that that was done many years ago, and we're looking to make that improvement for the Memorial Day parade. So we're looking forward to that. And lastly, I wanted to address the garbage situation along Wanacue Ave. In my opinion, it has gotten drastically better in the last 2 weeks. I have not seen as much garbage out there. I will tell you, and I thank Mrs. Shortway for coming to see me the other day, we did get some contact information for one of the repeat offenders, and we are going after enforcement there. So I do think moving forward, we're working on it. We're working with our business owners, our property owners. I do think we will come to a solution And hopefully by the summer, the situation should be resolved in whole. And that is all I had. Thank you.
So the only thing, I have had a couple businesses, small businesses, saying kids are, I'm not gonna say kids, anybody is putting garbage out on the sidewalk because they can't find a can, while they're walking with it, and they're dropping it like in front of the store. And, you know, not garbage, like for someone to put a Starbucks cup filled with coffee right in front of somebody's business. So as we get moving in this, and this starts to take hold a little bit, maybe we can visit putting another 1 or 2 garbage cans in down along this, just so when someone's walking down our town, they have a place to drop something off at some point too.
We will look at that.
Can we send something out to the schools telling the kids, like, I mean, that's ridiculous. So I was just in Pittsburgh, and it's a huge city, and there's no garbage cans anywhere, and there's no garbage on the street. And now, because this has been such an issue here, I'm like consciously aware of it everywhere I go. There are not garbage cans all over the streets in towns everywhere you go, and there's not garbage laying everywhere. So there's some disconnect between, oh, I don't see a garbage can, let me throw it on the floor. You know, why are we having this problem here?
Maybe a program? I mean, is there something that we can do, like a no litter program?
Yeah, the environmental club, it's something we can bring up to them.
Because I witnessed a kid throw his garbage over the weekend right on the sidewalk. And
So
of course now I'm yelling,
that's not
pick it
like a
up.
garbage can problem. That's maybe you don't know the
I
difference
think they need
between
to
right
learn.
and wrong problem.
Regardless, we'll reach out to the school system
Okay.
and consult on the matter.
I will say the garbage can you put over by the pond hole for the high school when I spoke has really improved the area. It's nowhere near how it used to be before, so thank you. So some are doing it, of course, obviously you're gonna have a few that are gonna, you know, instead of walking the extra steps to throw it out, may not do that, so.
Any questions for the administrator? Nope, okay. Okay, workshop. We'll start with the first one, amended code for residential requirements.
Before we begin, I have a potential conflict of interest related to this particular discussion, so I'm going to recuse myself from the discussion.
Either stay or you're gonna go?
I can stay.
You can stay.
Yes.
Okay, we'll start. Anybody have anything to say?
I have reached out since this last conversation, and I would say as far down as Hunterdon County, all the way up to Sussex County, council people and mayors alike in numerous towns, just to see if we're missing the mark here. And I will tell you, no, absolutely not. No, no. One of them said, there's an exception on their historic commission because they have language that deems that individual an expert. So there's an allowability for one person that's noted as an expert that is not a resident. And there were 2 towns that made mention of having exceptions for individuals that own businesses in the town, particularly as it pertains to what they would consider economic development groups or bids or whatnot. But this is something other towns are not doing. You cannot pick up the phone and call another town and say, I live in Pompton Lakes, I would like to join your whatever board, and you're not going to be met with, sure, fill out an application, come on over. This is not a normal practice. So I don't even know what the conversation is that we're having. We have a board that is being run by an individual, and yes, we are being board specific now because it only pertains to 3, and it is a board that will fundamentally reshape and change this town forever, and it should be overseen by people that live here. And someone being dedicated to the community or loving the town is not a good enough reason, because there are plenty of people that have lived here, that have moved away, that love the town, that no longer serve as volunteers in the town. It's just not, and I don't know if you have experience with other towns. I've asked numerous other people. It's just not something that other towns do. I don't even know why we're having this conversation.
All right, so as I said previous, this council votes on every appointment of every position on every board. Council, Paul Dory voted for this gentleman the last 5 years to be on this board. She knew he didn't live out of town. All of a sudden, it's becoming an issue now, but we have the opportunity as a board, as a council, to not put anybody on any board. I don't think we need an ordinance to specifically expel that out. If we don't want somebody on, we don't vote to put them on. It's just the way it is, and that's for any board. That's not just for one board. Beginning of the year, we do a reorg meeting. Every name on every committee person is on that list. And on that list, we vote individually for those people. So if we decide we don't want somebody, we say we don't want that person. We don't, in my opinion, we don't need a special ordinance or rule to make this happen. That's just my opinion.
It's standard practice for the language to be included in the ordinance, as it exists in plenty of our ordinances. For some reason, not this one, and you're skirting around the issue, particularly for this particular board, for this person. And 5 years ago, it's a 5-year term. I was brand new, and at the last meeting, we specifically asked for a list, and at that time, no one even knew who did or didn't live in town, and you didn't even want to give out the information. So, no, that's not true.
Well, so let's take a step back. Yes, you do vote on every position that comes in every year.
And that's a 5-year term.
Yes, you voted for it. You voted for, yes. For
When I didn't
him.
know who anyone was 5 years ago.
But you knew he didn't live here.
I don't even remember if I knew that. It's been brought to my attention
Whatever,
recently.
Whatever the reason.
And you didn't even know at the last meeting who didn't live here. You're on record saying, I don't know.
I still don't know. It's not my job to know. It's not, we don't have a procedure in place on making that happen. We are working on that, but we've never had a procedure in place put in front of us to any mayor, not just me.
So we need uniformity across the board.
I can tell you the gentleman that sits on the health board was asked by a mayor 24 years ago to sit on this board.
And the gentleman that sits on the health board actually drives into town every day, takes a key out of his pocket, and unlocks the door of a building that is domiciled in this town. He gives back to the community, and he also sits on a board that totally aligns with his profession. I'm guessing he has some type of ServSafe qualification, right? Because he is a restaurateur or food service provider. So he sits on a health board for that reason. And not only that, but he sits in a building that's subject for redevelopment, so it's going to totally impact him, right? So this is someone that has an actual footprint and purpose for being in this town, as opposed to someone that lives 2 hours away, doesn't own any commercial or residential property here, nor does he have business interests here. So you're comparing apples to oranges.
Okay, I think that they should all read the same. You should have to live in town. I also do believe that we shouldn't just toss someone off a board. I think that when their term is up, then they leave. I don't think, kicking people off of boards. I think that we should make some concessions for someone who has a business in town. I can understand that. For someone who, all right, let's just say it's someone who lives in Riverdale. We collaborate with Riverdale on many things, whether it's our kids, their kids are going to go to high school here, our kids play ball together. We do a lot of things together, so that I can understand. But if you live far away, I can even be 30 minutes. They live in a town, they should be providing their services to that town. And if they have something great to offer, they should be doing it for the town they live in. And there's a lot of people in this town, someone else could.
So going to your point, and I'm disagreeing with your point. The gentleman that one of the boards we're talking about is due up this year. So if this board decides they don't want him here, we would just not put him there.
Do you have a logical reason for not wanting the language to be incorporated into that board as it is in plenty other boards in this town that specifically require residency? Do you have a reason? You're saying you don't want it or it shouldn't be.
You interrupted me first.
Do you have a reason?
Oh, you're interrupting me first of all. I was talking. Secondly, I have no reason to do any of those things. If people want to work on a board, I can tell you the board that Lisa sits on, the library board, very difficult to get people on there. We're short too. If we remove one more, we don't have a meeting for library board. We don't have a meeting. That board goes away.
This doesn't pertain to that board.
Historic, another one that's usually hard to find members on. Okay, one of them might be questioning there. Okay, when we start picking and choosing, people are not going to want to volunteer to be on boards.
You're being asked to allow something to continue that's not standard practice in any other town, and it's insulting to your residents to think that a seat in something that impactful should be held and occupied by someone that does not live here.
He is 1 out of 7.
He's not.
He's one member out of 7.
He chairs it.
But he gets 1 vote out of 7.
And he
doesn't
chairs
get
it.
more than one vote as chair. He runs the
And if
meeting.
you watch the last meeting, there was a member that lives here questioning, and he's basically like, not to mention the fact that at 2 different meetings, that building openly came out on the record, which anyone can watch, and made comments numerous times about being given a will serve letter by the MUA, which they have not. And why isn't anyone picking this up? I questioned it. I questioned it the first time it was said on the record. But, so, look, It's not standard practice. The bottom line is, we can talk about this all day. You cannot go to another town and
I
volunteer
don't
to
know
sit
that.
on
You're
another
saying
board.
that. I don't know that.
I'll tell you, we have volunteer firefighters from out of town.
First responders do not apply to this.
Why?
Because, first of all, we don't have jurisdiction over the bylaws of first
No, we
responder
don't.
units, so it's not even a conversation.
So, but going back to X point, the board picks who the chair of the board is.
It's not about the chair. I
I'm
know
just
what you're
saying.
doing, and you're mincing my words,
I'm
and it's
not
not
mincing
about the
any
chair.
Tomorrow, if
Okay.
he steps down, someone else on that board will be the chair, picked by the chair of the board.
The largest majority of your
Okay.
boards have language written into the ordinances that residency is a requirement. More do than don't. So why is it
Because
okay?
it's a state ordinance.
No, it's not.
This
No,
was-
the only one that's covered by the state is the planning board.
This is also a state
No,
ordinance.
it's not.
So we can change, if I'm understanding
It's not.
Michael, we can change.
Redevelopment is drafted at the municipality level.
I don't know.
I believe that's correct. I would have to double check,
I'll double
but
check.
the planning board and the, council is governed by the statute.
Yes.
Planning board is. Redevelopment is not. It's
We're
pretty-
fighting over uniformity of ordinances, and why are we fighting the tree ordinance that Wayne, Oakland, Riverdale, all these other municipalities have? Why are we fighting that thing?
There is
Well,
no uniformity there.
the-
We're adopting
The
it.
fact of the matter is, they've had it in place for years.
We're adopting it.
You guys are
There's
fighting
no
it. You guys are
uniformity.
fighting
We're
it.
not fighting it. We're questioning the fee structure. That's what we're revisiting. We passed
No,
the
no, no, no,
ordinance.
you guys were fighting the fact that it even exists.
Well,
All right,
we
does
were
anybody else have
questioning it.
anything to add? Anybody else?
Question.
Bob, you want to say anything? Maria?
Waste of time.
So the goal at this point is just to focus on this one agency, right?
One agency, one
No.
individual.
Are we looking, because at this point, if we're gonna, because, more than, planning board, I think is a good example. I mean, they have a very big impact in the community, alongside the redevelopment agency as well.
We don't dictate that.
That's fine. I mean, I guess I'm assuming at the state level, the orders for the planning board requires has a residency requirement as well for that, or no?
I believe it does. I don't know, but we can't change that. But I do believe it does
No,
have
I'm
a
just curious
residency
if it does as
requirement.
well.
I don't know that answer. I don't know.
The planning board?
Yeah, well, obviously, they must have adopted what the state ordinance must be. Do they have a requirement,
You know?
a residency requirement for the planning board?
That's by state statute.
Yeah.
That's right, so it is there,
It's
right?
the municipal land. It's the resident, the planning board and the zoning board are regulated by the municipal land use law. And it
Right.
is a residency requirement.
It's a
by
statute,
state.
state statute.
So then why wouldn't we develop?
So the question is this, is there any reason why not to include it? I've heard a lot of argument, the for, what is the downside? What is the downside of including a residency requirement?
We're going to lose people off our buildings.
Well, how
No,
many
not
do we know
people.
today that are non-residents of Pompton Lakes that reside on the redevelopment agency?
3 people.
Three,
and
so,
maybe a half.
three, including obviously the chair, and then whatever sitting positions that they have on there.
No, it's not
Well,
all on
it's
one
not all
board.
on one board.
Different boards.
Oh, from different boards. But assuming that we're only targeting the redevelopment agency, because the conversation seems to
We can't
involve
target
redevelopment agency.
Well, I wouldn't want to target anyone, but I do have a question for Eric, because I think you mentioned this last time, and not about redevelopment, because I know you've recused yourself, but as far as historic, is there a caveat that there is an allowability for a non-resident that's deemed an expert by some condition?
I think the specific ordinance related to the historic commission should be reviewed.
Yeah.
Because there is specific.
We looked at it today, Michael and I, we didn't see it. But, it might be, but we looked at it quick. But anyway, so to answer your question, no, this is a couple different boards.
Couple of different boards. And what are those boards?
A library, could be.
It's not could be library. You
Historic.
We have a member of the library who's
who
not.
owns a home in Pompton Lakes.
Okay, but misses more than 3 meetings.
So that's
Well,
not a
those- she
residency
takes those
requirement,
meetings via Zoom.
Yeah, she does. Well, that's a whole nother thing, the Zoom part.
but we have allowed that. We had a councilman that sat on Zoom meetings for 8 months.
Okay, before we forget about the other
Yeah,
committees,
go back.
can we just focus then and apply this to just one versus blanket across all and review them on a case-by-case basis? Because this initially started for redevelopment.
Yes, you
And now
can.
we're pulling in more. So I thought the focus of this was to decide whether or not we want to move forward with a residency requirement for redevelopment. I didn't hear I'm hearing history now.
The requirement was for redevelopment, but we threw other names in to make everyone feel
Okay.
that.
Well,
No, they're not. You can't say one group, you have to have a residency, the other group.
But you
don't.
do. You have that now. You have ordinances that dictate residency for some and not others.
But
That
you
is
wanna fix
exactly
that.
what you have
We're
now.
trying to fix
So can you or can't you? You're
trying to
like, the
fix
words
that.
are like all over the
No,
place.
we're trying to fix that according to you. It should be uniform.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I prefer to take this on a case-by-case basis, so my comments now are only on the redevelopment. I don't want to hear about other boards.
Agreed.
I don't want to hear about other boards because the start of this conversation did not involve other boards. I'm not going to sit here and start judging or evaluating the residency requirements for every single person that's here because they do volunteer.
But here's the problem with that statement. If there is a residency requirement on the board and they don't live in town, they're breaking the law.
But we're not there yet. We're
We
just
are, no,
focused.
we-
no,
We're
we're
just
focused
talking
on
about
We're
redevelopment,
just talking about
which you are well within your
redevelopment.
right to do.
There's
For example,
three.
the health department has.
We're not talking about the
All
health
right, let me ask
department.
another question, since I was not born and raised here. Are all three, were they all residents at one time in Pompton Lakes? Did they raise their families?
No, one
Did they
of
go
them
through
never.
school? Did they do any of that within Pompton
Two of
Lakes?
them were, one of them never.
One of them never.
Bobby, you have asked for this to apply to redevelopment now, and you're being steered away from that because it doesn't suit the
No,
now.
I'm not going anywhere.
We already
This is all
have-
about redevelopment we're talking
Okay,
about, right? We're talking about
redevelopment.
redevelopment, right? You said there's three.
And planning and-
There's
There's only one.
No, there's other boards. If you record those three involved.
One person on
There's
redevelopment.
one on redevelopment.
Only on
one another board,
redevelopment is
one
just
on
the
another
one.
board.
Okay.
And planning and zoning both have residency requirements.
So this gentleman that if you want to talk just about redevelopment?
Yeah, just
This
redevelopment.
gentleman is up for re-election in January. So going to Lisa's point,
Reappointment.
we could, at that moment, we're gonna make a decision, no matter what we do here, we're gonna make a decision on that gentleman in January. Good or bad, I don't know how everybody's gonna vote. But it doesn't matter what we do here, he's gonna still be.
But it doesn't preclude anyone from applying for that position that's out of town.
No, so if you put the residency
Because-
requirement in
Because it's
place,
gonna be open to whoever. I'm not saying that that's gonna happen. Look, I'm pretty sure there's many qualified people that live in the town that can probably fulfill that role just as well. All right, and, obviously, we don't have to entertain anyone that applies from out of town.
put the provision in place.
But
then
how do we know they're from out of town?
That's a different source.
How do we know when they do? They have to give me your address,
Well-
your years that you're living there? How do we
No,
determine
don't you
that?
fill it out? You fill it out. So when I
Yeah,
went
but I'm
to
saying,
the,
how do we know?
We haven't kept track of that since.
Yeah,
we
how do
started.
we know?
And that's just not now, it's been years and years.
but when I filled out the form, I first sat on the library board. I filled out the form and it had my name and address on it. I had to hand that in.
Right, but who's checking?
You don't give out a form.
Oh, I filled out.
We're fighting very hard to keep a non-resident on a very important board, and I'm not really sure why.
So, go ahead.
If I may, so to the last work session in March, we talked about implementing a citizen leadership form. So the borough clerk and I are developing that. You have to put your primary residency address on the form, and we're going to verify that on our end moving forward. But just to simplify the discussion, the borough attorney and I are looking for further guidance to potentially draft an ordinance. And the question really is, should redevelopment have a residency requirement or not?
Yes.
And I think we need a yes or a no. We need to move forward because we'll be here all night talking about it.
Yes, and I'd have no problem with the term expiring at the end of this year, and then going forward, starting for reappointments in next year, that board should have a residency requirement. It is not, there's no reason for a non-resident to sit in that seat. And I'm hearing the conversation being steered in that direction, but I'm not really being told why we need to have.
Because at the end of the day, we do this as a fair system. If one.
You're not being fair to your residents right now.
No,
That's the
I'm being
bottom
fair to my
line.
residents.
No,
I'm
you're
being
not.
fair to
He
the
doesn't live
residents
here.
who sit on these boards, who have put the time in, and now we're telling them you're not gonna, you don't have. When
He
they, when
doesn't
Michael, I'm
live
talking
here.
again, you're interrupting me, please stop interrupting me, okay? When Michael and Liz put together this, application, we'll know right away who lives in town and doesn't. And at that point, you're gonna say, this person doesn't live in town anymore,
Correct.
and then they're not gonna be on the board anymore.
All right, so then we have a residency requirement in place saying that starting in 2025, non-residents are not allowed to be appointed, and so I'm fine with that. So that would solve the problem of whether or not this gentleman is reappointed when his term expires at the end of 2024.
Correct.
All right, so we are in agreement, we will make that ordinance.
Well, we have to vote on that, we're doing nothing now, this is just a conversation.
Michael, why can we not vote on this now?
No, it's in works.
We would need to prepare an ordinance.
Okay, so
Yeah.
can you draft an ordinance for a residency requirement for redevelopment starting in 2025?
Thank you.
Only that board. I want to
Correct.
make it clear, only that board.
I don't know if we can say that.
Yes,
Yes,
you
we
can.
Well,
We
the
can
other
say-
ones
yes,
already
we
have
can.
it, so we would
It's not
have to,
this yet. I'm not.
we would
They
have
have
to
it,
visit
that's
that
what-
differently.
that's
So we
what
would
the
have to
planning
visit
board
that
has it, the
differently.
planning board, but the others.
The other
No.
boards that we're talking about have a residency
So we have
requirement.
to
Oh,
visit,
then
we have
that's
to
fine.
visit
But they're
that
not
separately.
residents.
But they're not
That's a
residents,
separate,
so-
No.
that's a separate issue. Like this
Let's
and
just,
that are two
before we
different
continue
things.
to muddy
We
the
can get
waters,
back to that,
let's
'cause
focus
that's-
on this now.
Wait a second. So you're telling me there's residency requirements already in place in an ordinance for
Yes.
people that are current, okay, you gotta pause there then. You can't apply
But
to
you
one.
talked- we-
No, because I didn't understand that.
You knew that. You were told that last time. It's the health department.
The residency requirements now, if they're already in place for other boards, and we're not enforcing it, and we're putting ourselves in a position to enforce this and ignore the
Well,
rest.
Councilman DeLine brought that up at the last meeting. We are in violation of the health board right now. That's already been
But
addressed.
that's who Jen was saying owns
No,
a
I
business in town.
remember
Okay.
the health one, I remember the
And
health
the
one, but now we're
historic,
talking
we also
about.
have.
No, that's the only one, Bobby.
No.
That's the
not
only
true.
one that is in violation right now.
No, historic is in violation.
No, it's not. We were told there was no
Michael,
residency.
without that, Michael, can you find that out?
Who told you that?
I was under the impression that Eric said the only one it's on the recorded meeting from the last meeting. The only one we're in a violation of right now is
No.
health.
If I
Yes,
can
Eric
just-
is saying yes and you're saying no.
We just looked it up today, an hour before the meeting.
If I could just provide one point of clarification. So the borough attorney in February drafted a memorandum to the governing body citing that the only agencies or commissions that require residency via the borough code to date are the open space, environmental protection, trails, shade tree, and flood board. Every other agency, excluding the planning board and zoning board, which are governed by state statute, do not have a residency requirement in the code.
So which ones do again? I'm sorry.
Environmental, open space, trails, shade tree, and flood board.
And for the purpose of this conversation, because of the impact that this board has, I believe we are addressing specifically redevelopment right now, which legally we can do. So please don't tell us we cannot, because we can.
So I'm assuming that with those ordinances right now for those other committees, that council at that given time, whoever was here
No.
today is voted to include
Yes.
the residency.
And you were told at the
requirement.
last meeting that we weren't even given the addresses. No one
But then
knows.
he didn't say historic.
One of them is
so-
24 years historic.
Well, I'm
But
saying that.
he didn't say historic, so that person
That's
is
what I
not in
mean.
violation, yeah.
That's what I
and
mean.
your
They
library-
included the residency requirements, but it wasn't mandated by
No,
the
that's,
state.
it's not on
No,
there,
he's saying
and they're
it's
not in
there.
violation.
It's not in there.
Oh,
It's not in there. So
Oh,
it's not in there
included.
for library, and it's not in there for,
So
EPC,
you're
it's
picking and
not in
choosing
there
boards which
for.
one you have.
So now we
Well-
had, Councilman
that's
Cruz
the
wanted to
thing,
move
so if I
ahead,
change
and we're being
that-
derailed again.
Right, you're
The
picking and
the
choosing.
conversation was redevelopment. We're starting here. Can we please draft the ordinance, starting in 2025, that there is a residency requirement for redevelopment? We agreed to this, and now we're being talked out of it again.
Who's talking out of it? We're
Can-
having a discussion.
Michael,
That's what we're supposed to be
Can
doing.
you do me a favor? Just if it's something you can obtain, I just need to know what committees have residency requirements. Whether it's, I don't care if the state, the ones that are mandated by the state, because we have quite a few. Do any of them have residency requirements that are not mandated by the state that was implemented through a prior council
Yes,
to include?
yes, open space, environmental, trails, shade tree, and flood.
And that's something council voted on to include, residency requirements.
At time of establishment of the group, yes.
Okay.
And that would have, two of them would have been this sitting council.
And that excludes what you had mentioned already,
The
which is.
library, EPC, and historic commission, and, or,
And possibly others I can't think
I
of.
also
Yeah,
want you
that's
to
the
think
one- one of the
about
ones I'm
the size and scope of the impact
No.
that some of these committees have. I mean, you're comparing redevelopment that's gonna urge to push ahead a 15-story building and the library. With all due respect, every volunteer is fabulous, but library isn't gonna fundamentally change the shape of the town forever. And, what are we talking about
But
here?
you're talking about one vote, like X said.
But there already is
There's
a
one vote.
mix of some that do and some that do not. So adding one more to the some that do list isn't going to be a big deal. You're trying
Right.
to make it sound like
But
we're not being
The
fair.
vote doesn't change anything, removing this gentleman. He's only one vote. There's 7 people on the board.
A very
Well, I wouldn't
influential
say
vote that
I
happens to
wouldn't say
chair it.
remove
So
him
I'm
tomorrow.
okay with
That's
moving
not
forward with the
what we're saying.
2025. You have to be a resident to sit on redevelopment. And I'm not even really sure why any council person wouldn't support that. I'm not sure why we wouldn't be supporting our residents in this community and wanting to encourage our residents to occupy seats that are so incredibly important. I am here to work for the people that live in this town. I support the people that live in this town. I want my residents on my boards.
And you voted for this gentleman to be here 5 years.
And I
this
know you
gentleman
already
served
told
many
us a
years
bunch
on
of
the planning
times that
board.
we didn't even have the addresses before. So you're changing your words to
I
suit the
didn't change
narrative,
anything.
and
I'm
I'm
telling
standing
you
by
what the
my
truth is. You
convictions.
voted for this
Our
gentleman.
boards that are
You
this
had a unanimous
impactful in our
vote.
community
All
should
right,
be
we're gonna move on
served
to
by
the next-
residents.
We're
It's a
gonna move on.
vendetta.
So have we left it with we
We
will
haven't left it with
be?
anything yet.
No,
I'm
he's gonna.
pretty sure we
draft
did.
it. I think he's.
That's up to you guys.
Yes, I would like to see it
Okay, we
drafted.
heard from you, I gotta hear from everybody.
Yes.
Councilman
Yes.
Bennett?
No. Yes.
No. Councilman Kent, Woman Kent?
What Bobby suggested, I thought was the way to go.
Which is?
2025. Yes. Yeah.
And that's what you suggested, correct?
Mhm.
I don't know what that is, what is it?
2025.
2025 will start.
Yes.
The resi- Just for the,
Yes.
just for the,
For now, just for redevelopment.
redevelopment,
Okay.
just.
Are these,
I thought that was
you're
fair.
on, Bob, oh, you said it.
Yeah, I said it already.
Yeah.
You said-
Yeah.
All right, so that's what we're gonna do, Mike. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, moving on, next one, you wanna upgrade the systems here?
Thank you, Mayor. So, as a result of a prior council meeting, the Borough Clerk and I got a proposal to upgrade the sound system in the council chambers. I know that we have experienced some sound system issues in the past, and the system wasn't working, so we did obtain a quote. The scope of work includes all wireless mics, microphones for the municipal court, a new setup in the corner to get rid of wires, wiring within the dais. So the total cost is $58,000. And we don't have the funds available right now to do that. So the discussion right now is, would you like to move forward with that? My suggestion would be, we're looking at possibly installing cameras at all of our parks. So I'm thinking maybe a technology upgrades project, and including this potentially sometime in the fall, maybe.
All right, so let me ask you this, because the biggest issue we have is over our board meetings, they come with the computer and it doesn't work. This will fix that problem?
Yes.
This will be wireless, they don't have to plug in anything, they don't have to do anything?
They'll still have to plug in an HDMI, but we'll have new plates and a new
And
setup.
Bobby would have the most knowledge on this. Is there a way to just do that piece, where we can get them to plug in and we get them on it and not fix everything else right now?
All he's gonna do is run an HDMI cable over there that's all they're gonna do. That's all they're gonna run. They're gonna replace the connections that are in there. What I was gonna suggest is probably what Mayor Sarah's suggesting, is there any way to, have a smaller scope of work to address some of the more immediate issues? Because I know that's obviously been a problem. Liz, I know you've had problems with the connection yourself over there versus doing all of them. And just to bring up a side note, I was at the Board of Adjustments meeting and just facing this TV here. This TV is very dark. I don't know how anybody reads anything from here, from the public, and these two are not that much better, but in particular, because this is facing the public, I could not even read almost anything. It was so dark, and I was not about to interrupt the meeting to move forward.
So here's the issue about it, and you know this.
No, it's not, it's dark, and if it is the angle, it shouldn't be, because this is, I'm assuming the viewing angle should be the same across the board for these kind of TVs.
So what has to happen, and again, I'm not knowledgeable enough to know, you run this HDMI cable to here. How do you get these televisions into one off there?
They're all wired through the back, so you'll see that there's holes in the back of both of them, so
We have to run cables to all of them?
they're gonna end up probably replacing either what's down there that they're connected to, or behind to the boxes that you have back there in the office that's over there.
Because we do need at least one of these for the people sitting on the dais, and this is for the audience. So maybe, Michael, you could ask and see if it's something we could, because that's a big number.
They're using a splitter. That's all they're
Yeah.
using, is a splitter to be able to, obviously show the same screen across all three.
But really, the problem is sometimes Liz, and whoever's sitting there, it doesn't work.
What ends up happening with a lot of these connections is that over time it does wear down. They're no longer going as firm as they used to, and they do begin, and that connection begins to wear down. Unfortunately, you have a lot of plates. You have a lot of plates over time. So I'm pretty sure they did their assessment, they evaluated what needed to be replaced. I'm not in position to tell you because I didn't do the installation, but they do wear down over time, and that's where sometimes the TVs lose that connection. So I would suggest address the immediate. If you wanna, like I said, you would have to get a list of things that you feel need to be addressed now, reducing the scope of cost, to something that's more feasible for us to pay for.
Anybody else?
It's too much money.
Because
It's too much, it's too much at this point.
Plate in the front, and it is working right now, I believe, the TVs, correct?
Yeah, but the problem was, I was at one of the meetings, this television would go on, this one would go off, and this one would go on, and this one would go on.
That's been fixed.
That's been fixed, man.
Are we sure? That's been,
Yes,
Is it the connection?
Yes.
yes,
Is that what
that
you're
has
saying?
been.
okay, that's been
The
fixed.
connection wears down?
All right,
Yeah.
so then
It's just
maybe
like
we
the back
could just
of the
get an
TV.
HDMI
Yeah,
cable
yeah.
to all these three, that they just plug into their computer, and it shows up on everything, and then we'll worry about everything else later, unless something.
They had it working last night.
Yeah, that has been fixed.
The Board of Adjustments, yeah, they had it
Yeah,
working
it was
last
working
night.
last night.
It was working
There was
last
some other
night.
boards that was a mess.
Again, you gotta weigh out between its, the computer itself, the user, making sure that they're able to get that, you just, unless it's the person that does it all the time and they're familiar with it.
No, and then that's the other issue. You have different people sitting in Liz's seat. Liz does Gloucester, but then we
But I
have.
do believe it's been working, at least the last meetings I've attended.
All right, so why don't we do this? Could you find out, Michael, if it's working from all the board secretaries, if they're having any issues? If they're not having any issues, then maybe we can put this off for a little bit until we get somebody to fix it.
Got it.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Ask the board something. What's the last one? The lead paint thing.
Thank you, Mayor. Lastly, so just so the governing body is aware, the state enacted a new law in 2022 which governs lead-based paint in private dwellings. So the borough attorney drafted an ordinance which requires dwellings that were constructed during or were constructed prior to 1978 are subject to lead-based paint inspections. So this ordinance establishes the program for that inspection. The resident has the option to either retain a third-party inspector on behalf of themselves, or they can use our inspector. Now, some municipalities have trained staff on hand that can do this. Unfortunately, Pompton Lakes does not. So the suggestion from the code enforcement department is to retain a third-party provider that we could provide to the residents. Now, part of the new law is the borough does have to provide the opportunity to the resident to use our vendor, so that does have to be an option. But I'm working with code enforcement. An important aspect to this is what the cost would be to the borough from the third-party vendor, because we want to make sure we're covering our fees properly. We don't want to be losing money on the program. And then just some further background on the law. Some municipalities have a dust wipe sample, and some are visual inspections. And the DCA has put out that Pompton Lakes is a visual examination, which does reduce the scope of work and the cost throughout the program. So again, we have a draft ordinance prepared by the borough attorney. The inspections for the applicable dwellings must be completed by July 22nd of this year. So we are under the gun to get the ordinance adopted and to make sure that the program is implemented. I have developed a packet that's going to go out to all of the applicable homeowners and property owners, notifying them of this law and directing them to the code enforcement department for further action.
So everybody's aware, it's, like you said, there's 100 homes that are in this, and they figured that out. We have nothing to do with figuring it out. So we're talking about only 100 homes. It's not a huge number of homes, but we do have to put a fee scale in places, and I think that's what you're asking, right?
Yeah. Who
Yeah,
pays for it? The homeowner pays?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a $20 fee to the borough for the inspection fee, and then the suggested fee for the certified lead paint inspector is $550 if you would like to use our inspector, but the resident does have the option to use their own. And the rationale with the fee of $550 for the lead paint inspector is to make the fee for the borough higher. That way we're incentivizing the resident to use a third-party provider. We're seeing anywhere from $200 to $300 for the inspection. So we're trying to get out of the inspection business and put it back on the property owner.
Will you take bid books?
No.
So, the way that your report reads, and I just want to clarify, we're not requiring that the property owner that has to go through this hire a third party, we're just incentivizing it by making our fees higher.
Correct.
So we can't force them to say, we're not doing this, the borough's not offering this service, you have to go find your third party.
Correct.
They could still say, I don't care, I want the borough to do it, basically. Okay.
According to the borough attorney, we'd have to provide the.
We have to
option.
provide some kind of mechanism for the borough to be able to provide that
Right.
service. Okay.
Is this coming towards the tenant or the landlord?
Good question.
It's towards the property owner.
Yeah, property.
So
It's on
it's
the
the
property.
property owner.
Is this like a one and done? So like if they go in and there's no lead paint, then they never have to go there again?
No, it's
Or-
really weird, actually. It's like every 3 years it has to be recertified. It's
Well,
such a ridiculous,
If you
another
don't,
ridiculous.
if you don't have lead paint now, you're not going to.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. Another DEP brainchild.
Well, it's a money grab.
So I didn't know that. So the same owner, if they had tested no, has to get retested again?
Every 3 years.
Yes.
Or
It's a
upon
money
change
grab.
of occupancy too. That's the other one.
And there's no way to fix that by painting it over with a paint that covers it and say, I'm done?
I don't know how you treat lead paint. If they find it, then obviously it has to be addressed. But the law states, the state law states, it has to be recertified every 3 years or upon change of tenants.
Okay. That's what it is.
People on the street.
That's what it is. Hope I don't have lead paint in my house, that's all I'm saying.
Well, you have to, unless you're, again, this is only for rentals.
Oh, this is just
This
rentals?
is, so, yes, it's rentals for 1 unit, 2 unit, and we're saying single family, 2-family, multifamily, but really it's 1 unit, 2 units and above. So if you rent your house, you're responsible for this. If you live in your house and you turn around and sell your house,
They don't
this is not a
care.
requirement.
Okay.
They don't care if you eat lead paint, as long as you own it.
Okay, so it's for rentals, okay.
And again, it's prior to 1978. So if you're, I don't know how many apartment units we have, it sounds like 100 maybe, that are built after 1978, just because they're a rental, they don't have to go through this program.
Okay. So what are you asking for, Mike, then, right now?
I'm just providing a draft ordinance that'll be on for introduction on May
Okay, everybody's good with that?
Yeah, we're good.
Yes.
I'm good.
8th. Thank you.
Okay. Motion to open the meeting for public comment.
So moved.
Councilman Cruz, Councilwoman Polidori, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address? Are you yawning or putting your hand up?
Maybe both.
Yeah, both, not that. Randy Hinton, 443 Montclair Avenue. I just want to thank Councilman Devine for the good words he said about John Wegley. I've known John Wegley over 50 years, and that ex-Marine, he runs a tight ship. And I always felt confident all the years that I've been in Pompton Lake drinking the water. I don't use any of those filters or anything, but talking with John and the job that John has done, I always felt totally confident in drinking the water at Pompton Lake without filtering it. Just a little announcement about the bid being here. Bid bucks for sale on May 18th. Nobody had mentioned that, so I just did. I want to thank the mayor and the administrator and Maria Kent. We had a meeting on the ordinance 2420 on trees. And since that time, I had been asking, does that ordinance cover also the borough trees? And there was some indecision. I was told that it didn't, but then I did a little research on the MS4 tree removal replacement ordinance, frequently asked questions. And who needs to adopt the tree removal replacement ordinance? Every municipality in the New Jersey that is regulated under MS4 Tier A permit, which we are, is required to adopt this ordinance. The ordinance must be applicable for all types of properties that the municipality has jurisdiction over. That's borough right-of-ways, that's the parks. Does this apply to both public and private properties? Should there be separate ordinance? Yes, this ordinance would apply to both public and private property. So it does cover our parks, it does cover our borough trees, borough right-of-way. It is up to each municipality's discretion whether to adopt 1 or 2 ordinances. However, if they are separated, they must still address removal and replacement for the entire community combined. And one of the last questions was, if the DPW removes a tree, do they need to replace it? Yes. The municipality should be subject to the same standards as the rest of the community. If the tree the town is removing is not a hazard tree, they should be replacing it. So it's just a point I wanted to make on that. And finally, in your discussion about the redevelopment, I personally, as a lifelong resident, do want all members of the redevelopment board to be residents of Pompton Lakes because of the immense, profound effect their decisions have upon our community. My personal opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Please step up.
Good evening, Dan, Al Evangelist, Emergency Management Coordinator. I want to speak to John Wegley as well. I want to say some things about him that people don't even realize, what this gentleman has done for this borough and for OEM, for emergency management. You know, everybody thinks water, you know, I open my tap, I get a glass of water, I flush my toilet, it works, and everything's happening down there, and everything's fine. But it goes way beyond that. Let me give you an example of some of the things that our MUA has done. They sit on our local emergency planning committee, okay? In all the years that John has been the superintendent, and you know, a lot of people have titles, doesn't make them a leader. John is a leader. He makes things happen. He anticipates. He thinks ahead of the curve, and he's right there. And I'll give you some examples of that. If he couldn't make an LEPC meeting, a local emergency planning committee meeting, he had someone here to represent him. Never missed a beat on that one. Every year I request an inventory list from our DPW, from our schools, from our MUA. I don't even get a chance to request it in January. I have a list automatically in January. First one every year to submit their list of complete inventory of their resources. Lights, we borrowed their lights, you know, on those trailers. Equipment, jackhammer, just recently, we stepped up our game with heavy rescue and fire department. They made available their air compressor and their jackhammer to do heavy rescue as far as, you know, building collapses and things of that nature where we might have to jackhammer things. Confined space for years before we bought our own equipment. We had them at our beck and call. They had a duty man on all the time as they do. They'd come right out for us if we needed it. Generators. I was so proud at meetings in the county and at the state level when I'd go there and they'd ask the question, do you have backups on your water pumps for your water system? Do you have backups on your lift stations? Do you have backups in your sewer plant? And I would say, yes, we do. We have generators on everything. And they were the first to do it without even being asked. They were ahead of the curve again. Knowing where we were headed as an OEM organization, they were on the ball, they got it done. And kudos to the whole commissioners down there. They run a class act down there, there's no doubt about it. So we had generators. We got them a truck, they put a fuel tank on the truck. And they come around and not only service and fuel their generators, they fuel ours here at the fire department and municipal buildings and so forth. They've always been there to assist us. Even in a couple snowstorms we had, 95, 96, we had a week of snow up to here. They came out with their plows, they assisted our DPW, okay, with plowing our roadways. It's something that other entities wouldn't necessarily do, but they did. No boil water advisories, amazingly. In all the floods that we had, we never had an issue of boil water advisory. That's incredible. And that just shows the integrity of our water system, because unless it's breached, as long as it's under pressure, we have 80 to 100 pounds on every fire hydrant down. The system stays contiguous, okay? It stays up, and we don't have issues with foul water getting in there, contaminating our water supply. Even when they have a water main break, they know how to route it, reroute it, and keep that system safe. And kudos to them and John for that especially. For the Acme fire, okay, biggest fire in the history of Borough Pompton Lakes in the county, and maybe even in the state of New Jersey. 12 stores, burned to the ground in an hour, end to end, no fire protection systems, no sprinklers, no alarm systems. We pumped 7,000 gallons per minute out of Twin Lake. We dropped out like 3 inches in 3 hours with 4 fire pumpers in there. Our municipal system was first to be used, and at no point did it falter. We brought it to the brink of where we had to go further, okay, but at no point did it falter. John was ahead of the curve. He had already called the other towns. We have 4 interconnections. I believe it's 4 with other towns. Okay, with Passaic Valley, with Wanacue Reservoir, with Wanacue, and he had those interconnections open without me, and I was fire chief at the time, without even me requesting it. He was ahead of the game, he knew the game plan, and he had that done. Just incredible leadership on the part of that gentleman. That supplemented our system. Our ISO rating, people don't understand this. Insurance Services Organization rating for our fire. We are a 4 on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the best, and usually 1, 2, or 3 are career departments. Okay, in some of our bigger cities, for example, Jersey City's a class 1. Okay, we're a class 4. For volunteer department, that's incredible. Okay, 10% of the 100% evaluation is dispatching, receipt and dispatch of calls. 40% is our water system. They scored perfect every single time. Okay, every single time they scored perfect. 50% is our fire department. Thanks to you, okay, we have excellent equipment, so we score very high in that area. Where we lose credit is the fact that we're volunteer, we're not there, we don't train every day. We certainly can't do that. And, you know, could we get a 3? We're trying to get there, and maybe someday we will. A 5 to a 9, for example, West Milford areas of the town have no water protection, no water systems at all. They have to go to draft, surface reservoirs, lakes, rivers, and pump that water in draft. That's a 9, a 5 to a 9. So we're doing very good, and thanks to them for the 40%. And they flush our hydrants twice a year, and people still don't understand why that's done. It's done, number one, for the quality of the water, but it services every single fire hydrant. Just the other day in a city, and I won't mention the name, they went to 2 hydrants, and the hydrants didn't work, okay? Because obviously they're not being exercised twice a year. The purpose, in addition to quality of drinking water to flush out the, the sediment that might be in the pipes, is to make sure that every single one of those fire hydrants works. We've never had an issue with a fire hydrant. If we have, they've come right out while we're on scene, and they'll service it right there. It's just incredible. So kudos to John. John, thank you for an excellent leadership. I've worked with him 30 out of his 40 years, okay, as OEM coordinator, and it's been a pleasure. So thank you for your time.
Anyone else from the public like to address? Seeing no one, and a motion to close public session.
So moved.
Councilwoman Baldori, Councilman Cruz. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Going back to Mr. Hinton's point, I thought we just got an email from the attorney. You want to discuss that? That we didn't have to, but maybe I'm wrong.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, so street trees are governed by Chapter 12 of the Borough Code currently. However, the street trees are subject to the replacement requirements in the new ordinance, and the new ordinance does govern, trees in the right-of-way, street trees. So yes, street trees are subject to the replacement requirement, but might have a different permitting fee up front.
Separate from the residential.
Yes.
Okay. So that's a little explanation on that. Both of you, thank you for the nice words with John. We've all said it today. He was dedicated to the town. He cared about the town he worked in and lived in and grew up in, and he didn't make an excuse about it. Like somebody mentioned before, I think it was Councilman Line, that, they've been out there in the middle of freezing cold weather, digging a hole for 6 hours straight, never once concerned about it, just to get the water back on for, a bunch of residents. And I do remember many times calling them down to MUA to ask them to help us plow, and they would jump right on it. They said, let us finish our driveways, and then we'll hit your streets and start plowing. So, he was a great leader, and we thank him for everything he has. Okay, approves the floor. Anybody? Oh, I'm sorry, motion to close the public session.
So moved.
Council President Council President Devine, Councilman Cruz. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Approves the floor. Any approves the floor? Okay, motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Councilman Bennett.
Second.
Councilman Cruz.
We
Thank you,
actually
everyone.
don't have an executive closed session.
Yeah, we do have a quote.
We don't have.
Oh, it says right here.
No,
No, I'm saying we finally don't.